All right, you and I are diving into the story of a boy with a brutal night job. When he shows up to school, the popular kids are chilling, but Araji Kai just walks past them completely silent. Even when Shuji greets him, Kai doesn't even try to be friendly. The girls instantly write him off, saying he's not worth their time, which is fine because talking is just a total drag to him anyway. But once they step into the classroom, the bully Arashi demands absolute respect from everyone. Kai, of course, does not give a single damn about these people. Furious, Arashi screams at him for ignoring them. When Arashi tries to grab Kai to wake him up, our main character reacts instantly. Arashi screams in pure agony just trying to get his arm free. Kai completely shuts him down with a simple, agonizing squeeze to the wrist. Once Arashi finally breaks free, he backs off, realizing it is best not to provoke this kid anymore. The bully is straight up terrified. But when a classmate complains about the noise, Arashi acts like a tough guy again. After all, she is just a girl. Luckily, Mirai steps in, using her disciplinary council authority to restore order. So the bully sits down, disrespectfully throwing his feet onto the desk. But what these students do not realize is that Araji Kai is only this tired because of his forbidden night job. This dangerous criminal managed to run from the police, but he could not escape Kai's deadly blade. That is his secret. Kai never intended to use these skills at school, but everything changes when he senses something strange. His assassin instincts scream danger. A glowing blue light flashes across the classroom floor, triggering instant panic. Before anyone can react, the entire class is teleported straight into a massive ancient stone castle. Every single student is knocked out cold on the floor. Kai is the first to open his eyes, quickly mapping out the stone walls, protective pillars, and the single exit. Soon, the others begin waking up. Hysteria erupts, but Shuji steps in to keep everyone calm. Kai is genuinely relieved that Shuji is there to lead the class, but then Arashi gets up, claiming they are wasting time, and orders his lackeys to follow him. But pay attention here, Kai suddenly stops them, warning that he hears footsteps. His sharp senses pick up a man and a woman approaching the door. Right on cue, the heavy doors swing open to reveal a young girl and an old man. Dressed in medieval capes and flowing robes, they look like fantasy characters. The girl welcomes them, calling them impressive hero candidates. The high schoolers are completely stunned. Kai immediately analyzes the newcomers, noting that the old man has the distinct build of a master swordsman and is completely on guard. The girl looks normal to Kai, though he notices some hidden muscle. She introduces herself as Leonora, the Archbishop of the Holy Country of Digarest, and the older man as Gas, her loyal protector. Arashi immediately speaks up, aggressively claiming he has never heard of Digarest and asking if this is a joke. Leonora gently assures him that it is not. Shuji steps in to smooth things over, explaining that they are just incredibly stressed after suddenly appearing here. With that, the girl begins explaining their situation, revealing they have been summoned to an alternate world. They are apparently humanity's last hope to defeat the Demon King as the chosen hero candidates. Obviously, this is incredibly hard for normal teenagers to believe. When Arashi scoffs, Gas warns him to watch his tone with their saint. Arashi does not even flinch, prompting Gas to draw his weapon before Leonora stops him. But then, out of absolutely nowhere, Arashi lunges directly at the knight. Kai is stunned by his reckless bravery. But before Arashi can even connect a strike, Gas moves like lightning. He draws his blade, leaving a small cut on Arashi's forehead before anyone can even blink. Leonora quickly apologizes for her knight's aggressive response. She promises to explain everything in full detail, but only if they remain completely silent and listen. Suddenly, her gentle demeanor vanishes, replaced by a chillingly serious aura. She delivers the grim truth. The Demon King's brutal invasion has pushed all of humanity to the very brink of extinction. Their kingdom is still holding out, but they no longer possess the power to stop the demonic forces. To Kai, this sounds like a generic fantasy plot. But Leonora reiterates that they are their absolute last hope. You and I both know they are just normal kids. They immediately protest, crying out that they have never fought in their lives, some completely breaking down. Gas steps in, declaring that impossible or not, they must try. Then, he drops a massive bombshell. There is absolutely no way for them to go home unless they defeat the Demon King. This brutal revelation leaves the students completely paralyzed with fear. Kai realizes Gas is just trying to force them to fight, knowing peaceful teenagers cannot suddenly start taking lives. Killing requires true talent and dark experience. Meanwhile, Arashi stands back up, blood dripping down his face, cursing them out for trying to control them. He spits that he absolutely hates people like them. Gas respects that his spirit remains unbroken, wondering if the boy might actually make a decent soldier. But clenching his sword, he decides the bully is too much trouble and prepares to execute him. Before he can strike, Leonora steps in, instantly healing Eroshi's head wound. She explains that this miraculous power is called the system, a divine blessing granted by their gods. She explains that it functions just like the magic from their fantasy games. Kai notices how familiar she is with their culture, wondering if she has summoned modern humans here before. Walking over to Shuji, she explains that this divine power is why they were summoned. She raises her hands, and suddenly Shuji's wrist begins to glow with light. Suddenly, a glowing sword of pure light materializes in his hand. She explains they can all harness this system to awaken their own unique blessings. Leonora then makes a deeply selfish request. Since they are trapped here, she begs them to lend her their strength. Shuji points out that even with these cheap powers, they cannot expect normal high schoolers to start fighting immediately. She assures him they will receive proper training and full support. Shuji quickly takes command, telling his classmates that while they are terrified, their immediate priorities are safety and information. He advises them to cooperate with Leonora for now, and the class agrees. Seeing their willingness to help, Leonora begins granting each of them their unique divine blessings. Mirai unlocks telekinesis. Arashi gains devastating explosion magic. Rina is granted fire manipulation, Yoshia controls wind, and the rest of the students receive incredible powers of their own. Leonora asks if anyone has been missed, and Kai raises his hand. As she bestows her blessing upon him, Kai immediately notices his vision shifting dramatically. As the magic fades, he can suddenly read Leonora's hidden stats. Kai's eyes glow a deep crimson. Leonora explains he has awakened a legendary ability called Judgment, allowing him to analyze anyone's status. Arashi tests his explosive magic, then instantly mocks Kai, joking that his only power is changing his eye color. Kai watches his classmates grow incredibly arrogant. He finds it hilarious because these kids know absolutely nothing about the harsh realities of this new world. Their powers are merely borrowed and could easily be revoked at any second. But Kai is completely unbothered, knowing he has far more reliable ways to survive. With the awakening complete, Leonora dismisses them to rest. That night, the hero candidates are escorted to their quarters, but Kai has no intention of sleeping. He slips out of his window to gather intel, hiding from the patrolling guards nearby. The guards are mocking the newly summoned heroes, laughing about how weak they look. They cannot believe these children are expected to defeat the Demon King. One guard mutters that the saint must have a master plan. Listening to every word, Kai activates his judgment skill on the soldier, quickly discovering the man only possesses basic swordsmanship. He notes the tight fortress security, blocking the inner castle gates. But trust me, you and I are going to watch him break through. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild new adventure. Our main character realizes sneaking in now is impossible, so he backs off. Meanwhile, out in a field, Rina is scouting spots with her sidekicks. They are out here to test drive their shiny new abilities. As the trio conjures different elements, Rina focuses hard, desperate to make sense of this whole divine protection thing. Watching from the bushes, Kai suddenly senses a creepy vibe. Right then, the girls hear rustling nearby, and boom, a massive, terrifying lizard monster bursts out of the foliage. The beast was clearly attracted to the girls' magic. Kai instantly activates his judgment skill to scan its stats. He is completely blown away because the numbers are absolutely off the charts. With a deafening roar, the beast charges the girls. But Kai quickly notices something. While this giant lizard is incredibly aggressive and strong, it only runs in straight lines. It is totally brainless. Kai flings a knife, piercing its tough hide. Suddenly, Rina trips and crashes to the ground. The monster looms over her, ready to flatten her into pancakes, when it abruptly freezes mid-air. Looking up, the girls spot a knife buried deep in the creature's bleeding head. They have no clue who just saved them, but they are not about to stick around. They instantly run for it. Now, Kai didn't really have to save them, but his conscience wouldn't let him watch them die. He realizes if beasts like this are just wandering around, life here is going to be brutal. He approaches the corpse to retrieve his blade, but suddenly senses a presence. Kai instantly ducks behind the massive carcass, scanning the area, but sees absolutely nothing. He decides it is time to head back to his room and avoid any more drama. The moment he leaves, a mysterious figure steps out from the shadows, fully cloaked in a dark robe. Their face is completely hidden. This cloaked figure brutally crushes the monster's skull, popping its eyes out. They mutter in annoyance, totally disappointed by how weak the new hero candidates are. But then they notice Kai's lingering scent. He smells just like them. The next morning, Gas shows up with a massive surprise, the carcass of that very same monster. Seeing this hideous beast up close completely terrifies the new hero candidates. Gas explains that the creature was discovered dead right near the royal capital. He warns them that the Demon King has driven these beasts mad, turning them into mindless, human-eating monsters. He warns the candidates that they will be fighting things like this soon. Gas then turns to Steady, one of the researchers, asking if he found anything weird on the body. Steady nods. Now check this out. Steady reveals signs of dark sorcery, likely from a mid-tier demon or higher. He thinks these demons are actively scouting the weak newcomers. That is incredibly creepy. Kai wonders if sorcery is different from regular magic, a brand new term he just heard. Shuji immediately chimes in, asking if a demon was actually controlling the beast like a puppet. Steady explains that high-ranking demons can easily dominate weak monsters using control spells. But before he can nerd out any further, Gas drags him away, kicking and screaming. Kai realizes Steady is the perfect source for information, someone he absolutely needs on his side. Then, a chilling thought hits him. Those eyes watching him last night, that was definitely a demon. This demon must be insanely skilled since Kai barely senses its presence. He gets a creeping, paranoid feeling that the creature is still lingering around, watching them. Suddenly, he feels cold eyes locking onto him. Arashi tells Gaia flat out that they cannot go home without slaying the Demon King first, and he is not staying here forever. The rest of the students quickly nod in agreement. Kai figures it is good that everyone is finally realizing the high stakes. Right then, Leonora steps in, telling them not to panic. They just need to learn how to wield their new powers. A bit of solid training is all it takes. As Outworlders, their growth rate is light years ahead of the locals. Just like that, a week flies by in a blur of intense training. While they train, Kai spends his days reading in the library. Amazingly, he can already read and understand this new language perfectly. Honestly, he still finds it weird they can even communicate. Since his judgment skill is useless in actual combat, he gets benched from battle training. But hey, at least he gets unlimited access to the library archives. Still, he barely finds any books on their history or demons. Meanwhile, the top 5 students emerge. Narumi with wind, Arashi with explosions, Kaki with telekinesis, Hashimoto with earth magic, and Reina. Reina controls fire. But wait, you and I need to look at another guy whose power is skyrocketing at an insane rate. It is Shuji. He is already outclassing his sword instructors. Kai scans him with judgment and sees Shuji's stats are all above B grade. A massive leap from last week's D grade. Suddenly, 2 cocky guys strut up to Kai and start pushing him around. Kai notices everyone else is looking down on him, too. These new powers are definitely giving them an ego trip. One guy tries to shove Kai, but Kai smoothly flips him onto the hard ground. Meanwhile, Leonora and Gas arrive at the training grounds. Leonora announces that since everyone leveled up way faster than expected, they are moving on to the next phase. Narumi asks if they are going to fight the Demon King, but Leonora shakes her head. They are starting with real monster combat instead. Hearing that, everyone gets a little tense. The following day, Gas and Leonora lead the class deep into a dark forest. Gas announces that this is where their actual combat drills begin. The area is crawling with dangerous monsters, so they cannot just stick together in one massive horde. Instead, they must split into groups of 2 or 3. Immediately, everyone scrambles to form teams, leaving only Kai and Kaki completely partnerless. With no other choice, the 2 leftover outcasts pair up. Kai thinks Kaki seems incredibly arrogant, cold, and prideful. Before he knows it, she catches him staring right at her. Just then, Leonora adds some spice. The team that slays the most monsters will win a special reward. With that, the combat drill officially kicks off and they head out. Walking into the woods, Kaki boasts that her magic is vastly superior to everyone else's, so she does not need his help. She bluntly warns him to just stay out of her way. Kai easily agrees, telling her he will leave all the work to her. Shocked, she asks if he has any pride. Suddenly, Kai senses 4 hidden entities nearby. One beast lunges, and Kaki instantly unleashes her magic. Her unique skill is called Domination, allowing her to bend any target to her absolute will. She simply orders the charging goblin to bow, and it immediately hits the dirt. Just a few minutes later, Kaki is totally wiped out. She admits that keeping her power active drains her mana rapidly, leaving her completely exhausted. Kai tells her to finish the goblin off before another one jumps them. But Kaki hesitates, saying it looks too human. Kai snaps her back to reality, pointing out that it is a literal monster that just tried to kill them. Kai grabs a stone, thinking she is just a soft student from Japan who is too used to a peaceful world. As he plays with a rock, the remaining 3 goblins suddenly surround them. Kaki forces the new goblins to bow, then yells at Kai to actually do something besides standing around. Kai just smirks, reminding her that she explicitly told him to stay out of it. She groans, then commands the goblins to snap their own necks. Instantly, they drop dead. Kai is actually pretty impressed seeing her execute such a ruthless order with her voice. She admits that complex commands take a massive toll. The bloody corpses gross her out, but Kai drops some calm advice. She looks at him, wondering how he stays so relaxed without any powers. Kai shrugged, telling her staying calm is his specialty. He asks if she wants to call it quits, thinking she might be terrified. But naturally, her pride flares up and she refuses. Kai knows she's just acting tough, but she's not so bad. While they bicker, we see Narumi and Hashimoto running for their lives from a nightmare beast. Let's find out what happens next time. Alright, you and I are jumping into a brutal battle where running is not an option. They combine wind and rock magic to smash the monster with a massive boulder, but it barely even scratches the beast. Nothing works. They are completely stuck, with no backup plan. In the panic, Kaki finds herself thinking of home, desperate to survive just so she can return to her grandfather and show him how much she has grown. Kai snaps her back to reality, demanding to know if she still has the stomach to push forward, warning that getting lost out here is a death sentence. Naturally, they start bickering. Kenzaki can only wonder why Kai is such a stubborn, mysterious guy. But while they are arguing, a massive crash echoes nearby. Kaki knows instantly that Hashimoto is in deep trouble. Kai asks for their next move, and Kaki insists they have to jump in and help. Nearby, the beast has just thrown Hashimoto like a ragdoll, leaving her badly injured and bleeding. Hashimoto screams for Narumi to run, but the warning comes too late. The beast is already closing in on him. Desperate, Kaki unleashes her power, commanding the monster to freeze. Narumi throws out a quick thanks, but Kaki warns that this monster is far too powerful to stay frozen for long. Kai asks if Hashimoto is still breathing, and Narumi confirms she is. Barely. Kai orders Narumi to grab Hashimoto and retreat immediately. Narumi hates the idea of running, but looking at her terrible injuries, he has no choice. Once they clear out, Kai uses his appraisal skills to scan the beast, and its defense stats are absolutely off the charts. Kai realizes right away that his standard attacks will not even scratch this monster. Looking closer, he notices it is some weird mutant, leaving him wondering what they are actually fighting. Kaki screams that her binding magic is breaking. Kai tells her she has done enough and orders a retreat. She agrees, knowing they cannot win this fight. Now pay attention, because this is where things get incredibly tense. Her legs completely lock up, she is totally out of energy. With the beast closing in, Kai quickly triggers a smoke grenade. The thick fog gives him just enough cover to grab Kenzaki and slip into the shadows. Confused, she asks about the smoke, and Kai claims he made it during their training days. But he is lying. Kai secretly brought real-world tactical gear with him before getting summoned. Since his stash is limited, he has to be smart and save these tools for absolute emergencies. Classic assassin gear. Feeling guilty, Kaki apologizes, admitting she was the one who dragged them into this mess, only to end up needing rescue. Kai cuts her off, telling her to skip the apologies and just thank him instead. Just like that, the bickering starts up again. She wants to run, but he immediately shuts that down. Suddenly, Shuji and the rest of the squad burst onto the scene. Without wasting a single second, Shuji charges the giant beast to avenge his friends. He moves like lightning, slicing the monster's hand, while Rina backs him up with explosive fire magic. The flames do not do much damage, but they successfully slow the creature down. As the team coordinates another massive assault, someone is quietly observing their battle from the shadows. It is a deadly assassin demon named Delphus. He smirks, whispering to himself that this armored beast stands no chance against these rookies, who are leveling up at an insane rate. Delphus is highly impressed by their composure, especially Shuji's. This was meant to be a simple recon mission, but the demon decides to change plans and wipe them all out right here. But as he plots, Shuji's squad manages to slay the massive beast. Delphus grins, preparing to strike the exhausted heroes, but before he can move, a cold blade presses against his neck. It is Kai. Delphus freezes, completely shocked that anyone could sneak up on him. Sweating, the demon cannot comprehend how this kid got behind him so quickly. He desperately scrambles for an escape route, but Kai is lightning fast, slicing his legs and slamming him to the dirt. Kai warns him to stay quiet, wanting no distractions for Shuji's group. Kai offers a simple deal, answers some questions, and he walks away alive. Delphus tries to resist, but Kai holds all the cards, asking if Delphus was the spy watching them the other night. Kai reveals he knew they were being watched the entire time, using Shuji's fight as bait to draw the stalker out. He demands information, since they are brand new to this world. Kai demands answers to his questions, but Delphus just smirks, staying silent. So, Kai slices his hands as a painful reminder that talking is much easier than bleeding. Delphus warns him not to underestimate a demon, then swallows a hidden poison capsule, dying instantly. Seeing this level of loyalty, Kai realizes the Demon King's army is no joke. Suddenly, Kaki wanders over, completely horrified by the fresh corpse on the ground. Kai asks how long she's been watching, and she admits she saw everything. Kai explains this dead demon was an elite assassin from the Demon King's army. He reveals that the armored beast and even that first lizard monster were actually this spy's doing. Kaki gets terrified, realizing the Demon King is actively hunting them down. She asks how Kai could possibly detect the assassin when no one else did. Kai decides it is time to reveal his secret. He calmly confesses that his family runs an assassination business, so he can easily spot a fellow professional. Naturally, Kaki is left completely speechless by his confession. Kai says she can believe whatever she wants, but begs her to keep the corpse a secret. The rest of the class is already terrified after seeing Hashimoto, and she agrees. Kaki comments that she did not expect him to care so much. Kai, scoffing, claims he is only doing this because these soft kids do not know how to fight like he does. Hashimoto lies on the cold ground, her injuries incredibly severe. The worried classmates crowd around her until a student named Hano steps forward, activating her advanced healing magic. The group watches in awe at her incredible healing abilities. Hano shares the good news Hashimoto will fully recover in an hour. With that relief, the students start hyping up Shuji for his victory. Right on cue, Leonora and Gas casually stroll in. The angry students immediately demand to know where the instructors were and why they did not bother to help. Now, I know what you were thinking. What kind of teachers do this? Gas claims he was watching all along, stating they will never grow if he keeps babying them. But Shuji is furious, pointing out that Hashimoto almost died. But Gas does not care, coldly explaining that risking your neck is just part of real military training. He lays down the harsh reality. This is the brutal world they must survive, so they need to stop complaining. Still, Shuji demands answers, questioning why a high-tier armored monster appeared in a low-level training zone. Leonora chimes in, guessing that a demon assassin must have summoned the beast here. Completely unaware that Kai already dealt with the threat, the instructors decide to double their perimeter security. Leonora is not finished playing bad cop, announcing they are cranking their training to maximum. She bluntly warns them that at their current level, they are all just dead weight. They will die. This sends shockwaves through the group. Shuji tries to plead for moderation, but she insists survival demands power. Hearing this, the hot-headed Arashi snaps. He hates being treated like a dog, stepping up to challenge Leonora, but Gaia holds him back. He reminds Arashi that they are nothing but expendable chess pieces here. Things get incredibly tense. Shuji steps in to cool Arashi down, realizing they have no actual power to refuse. Watching this play out, Gas seems rather impressed by Shuji. He reassures the kids, calling them valuable state assets who will stay safe as long as they play by the rules. Arashi loses it, launching an explosive blast at Gas, who dodges with absolute ease. Gas drops Arashi with one blow, warning him that survival only gets tougher. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I will definitely want to see what happens next. You and I are jumping right back into the action where a bloodied Arashi swears revenge on Gaze. The very next day, their training takes a wild turn when the researcher Steady takes charge and drops a massive bombshell. They would be fighting actual monsters right inside his research facility, which was packed with beasts he had been breeding for his own twisted experiments. As the brutal training drill begins, these hero candidates are forced to fight. Guys watches closely, shocked by how incredibly calm everyone remains under pressure. Shuji tries to stop this, warning Steady that these beasts are far too deadly, but the researcher refuses to back down. Leonora demanded extreme discipline, meaning there would be absolutely no mercy. Steady reminds them that losing is not an option when competing with their peers, claiming raw willpower is everything. Still, Shuji doubts if determination alone can save them. Steady explains that correct training allows them to level up and unlock new skills. That is when Gaze steps in, using his judgment ability to spot a hidden power dormant inside Shuji. Shuji is completely stunned and immediately begs Steady for a chance to test it. Thrilled to witness this hidden talent, Steady agrees, and Shuji unleashes his new power. In one clean, lightning-fast motion, he slices off the beast's arm and head. Guys instantly realizes armored monsters are no longer a threat, while wondering if his own appraisal skills have also evolved. Guy notices that Arashi has awakened a new ability too, but decides to keep quiet about it. That very night, Arashi plots a dark conspiracy to eliminate Guys, capture Leonora, and force her to send them home. With several classmates backing him in their desperate bid to escape, Arashi approaches Narumi, knowing he is also miserable in this world, and invites him to join their rebellion. Narumi hesitates but ultimately joins the plot. The following morning, Guy finds Shuji training like a madman, still craving far more power. Guy points out that Shuji is already strong enough to defeat half the world's royal knights, but Shuji remains unsatisfied. He insists he needs more strength to defeat Guys and protect his friends. When Guy asks what he truly thinks of Leonora and Guys, Shuji admits they are likely pawns, but believes they mean no real harm. Guy pushes further, asking if Shuji is prepared to risk everything until the Demon King is defeated. Shuji nods. He vows to become this kingdom's ultimate savior and destroy the Demon King, aiming to trade his service for his friend's freedom. But here is the catch. Do you honestly think someone as ruthless as Leonora would ever allow a deal like that? Speak of the devil. Leonora and Gase walk in, announcing that Steady will be running the training while she is away. Steady happily agrees, and the two commanders depart. During their journey, Gase questions if leaving Steady in charge was wise, but Leonora just plays dumb, forcing Gase to tell her to stop playing games. He warns her that Arashi is plotting a rebellion, and Leonora admits she already suspected it. When asked for her move, she says she is just curious to watch. Gase fears a mutiny of superpowered candidates could turn bloody, but Leonora remains chillingly calm, planning to use a brutal hierarchy to crush their spirits and totally break their will to fight. She also hints at other suspicious movements but chooses to ignore them. Later night, Kai battles a beast. He slays it using the exact same strategy as his very first night, taking only 13 seconds. Checking his own stats with his judgment power, he sees a level up. Suddenly, a much tougher beast ambushes him, completely deflecting his blades. Seizing this perfect opportunity to test his newly unlocked skill, he activates an ability that pinpoints any opponent's absolute weakest spot. The moment he spots it, he slays the monster instantly. It is a solid skill, but Kai knows he needs much more power to survive. Now, I know what you were thinking. This is too easy, right? Kai feels the same way, needing a real challenge when suddenly, footsteps approach. He spots Kaki and demands to know why she is wandering the woods so late. She admits she was searching for him since his room was empty. Kai warns her to go back immediately. He is perfectly fine fighting in the dark, but she is definitely not. Kaki cuts him off, demanding answers, so Kai explains he is only testing his abilities. Kaki asks about his new skill, but Kai just teases her until she finally blushes, admitting she was genuinely worried, before desperately stammering out a bunch of excuses. Their conversation is cut short when they spot thick smoke in the distance. A massive fire. Their dorm is burning, and they rush back to find a chaotic monster battle. Narumi is relieved to see them, explaining he woke up to a raging fire and beasts everywhere. Kai instantly deduces this is a coordinated human attack with a mastermind nearby. Kai orders them to hunt down the saboteur immediately, but right then, Steady appears on a rooftop, praising his sharp intuition. Suddenly, all the pieces fall into place. Steady proudly reveals these beasts are from his own lab, chemically enhanced to make them incredibly lethal. A disgusted Kai demands to know what he could possibly gain from slaughtering the hero candidates. Steady explains it is an order from the very top. He must wipe out every single candidate, even if his job is ruined. Smiling, he claims it is nothing personal, but they must all die. When asked if Leonora ordered the hit, Steady scoffs, revealing it was actually a direct command from the Demon King himself. The researcher is a spy. Steady brags that a successful mission will secure him a prestigious research job under the Demon King. Kai asks if his obsession with beasts has completely destroyed his humanity. Steady simply claims that monsters transcend humanity, before ordering his savage beasts to shred them. Kaki tries to halt them with her magic, but they shatter her spell instantly. Kai leaps in to save her from the charge, leaving Steady thoroughly impressed by his reflexes. Kai continues his assault, single-handedly dropping nearly a dozen monsters. This drives Steady into a rage, baffled that a supposedly weak candidate is putting up such a fight. Kai evaluates Steady and realizes his physical stats are pathetic. However, Steady possesses a much stronger version of Kaki's domination magic, which explains exactly why her spell failed so easily. Desperate and shaken, Steady prepares to play his ultimate trump card. He warns Kai that his end is near, but Kai refuses to waste a single breath and leaps forward to strike. Suddenly, a massive red dragon materializes, spewing torrents of flame. With his deadly secret exposed, the beast immediately begins hurling giant boulders directly at them. Kai screams at Narumi to grab Kaki and retreat before the next blast hits. Using his appraisal skill, Kai locks onto the dragon's critical weakness at its neck. He tries to strike, but lacks the raw force to land a lethal blow. Suddenly, Arashi charges in, bragging about his own power, only for the dragon to swat him away. Kai tells Arashi they must cooperate to kill this beast. Arashi scoffs at the idea, forcing Kai to explain that he has the vision, but lacks the raw power to finish it. Arashi stubbornly snaps that he does not need a rookie's help, but there is no time to argue as the dragon strikes again. After taking another blast of fire, Arashi finally swallows his pride and teams up with Kai. The plan is set. Kai targets a specific scale on its neck, and trust me, you and I are about to see if they survive. Alright, you and I are diving right back in as Arashi targets that weak spot. Steady orders his dragon to kill them, but Kai draws its attention. Arashi strikes the weak point, sending the giant beast crashing down. With the dragon dead, Kai mocks Steady, asking if he has any more tricks up his sleeve. Steady bluffs about having more monsters, only to find out Shuji already wiped them out. When the coward tries to run, Narumi instantly tackles him, and Kai demands answers. Terrified, Steady agrees to talk, but suddenly, his body turns purple and he drops dead. Turns out, he was cursed to die the moment he tried to spill any secrets. The next day, the furious candidates confront Leonora for putting Steady in charge. She apologizes, claiming she never expected such a weak demon tamer to cause this much chaos. The crew is stunned that she knew his secret identity all along. If she knew he was a demon tamer, why on earth did she let him near them? Leonora defends herself, reminding them she said training would be brutal. This was just a test. Gas joins in, mocking them for not even noticing a fire at night. Next stop, the royal capital. They are headed there for a massive public parade, where these hero candidates will be introduced as the absolute stars of the show. That night, they camp in a field on their way to the capital. While eating, Arashi tells his followers the 30 escorting soldiers are weak. It is time to make their move. He is fully confident they can crush the guards and orders someone to summon Narumi and his group, but he has no idea Kai is listening to everything. Kai knows the soldier count is low because Gas and Leonora can easily handle any threat themselves. Knowing this, he approaches Shuji to have a private chat. Later that night, Arashi and Narumi meet secretly in the woods. But just as they prepare to ambush the soldiers, Shuji and the other candidates block their path. Shuji drops a massive bomb. He already knows Arashi plans to assassinate Leonora and Gas. Arashi is completely stunned. The group tries to talk sense into him, pleading that outright murder is not the answer. Arashi snaps back, asking if Shuji is all talk and demanding to hear his actual plan. Shuji responds that he will act as a pawn, defeat the Demon King, and save everyone. But Arashi is not having it. He orders them to move, but they refuse, sparking a brutal fight. Now watch closely because a sudden interruption changes everything. Two soldiers walk in, telling them to get some sleep for tomorrow's early trip. Frustrated by their weakness, Arashi walks away, muttering that talking to them is a waste of time. The next day, they arrive at a heavily crowded royal capital. The cheering citizens are amazed to see the hero candidates, instantly putting all their hopes and faith in these young warriors. Inside the castle, Holy Knight Ryuz welcomes them, offering luxury accommodations. The candidates are absolutely thrilled with the royal treatment, from soft beds to steaming hot baths. And the food is incredible. Kai, however, wants to gather intel, but the castle is crawling with guards. That is when he spots Ryuz, the knight from earlier. Ryuz is telling his soldiers that these candidates are far stronger than normal kids, but one soldier worries their presence in the capital will definitely provoke a demon attack. Ryuz tells them not to worry, confident the candidates can handle anything. Kai still has doubts, so he sneaks out to a local pub that night for some drinks and information. People in the pub are gossiping about the hero candidates, whispering that they only look like ordinary kids. Kai also notices the locals fear the church far more than the king or the nobles. Pretending to be a clueless newcomer, he asks the bartender for gossip, and the man starts explaining the threat of the Demon King. He explains that the Demon King is actively invading and can easily deceive humans with his mind-bending magic. Just days ago, his fanatical followers even blew up a noble's entire estate. Kai leaves the pub, realizing bringing the candidates here was a massive mistake. Right then, Kaki suddenly appears out of nowhere. Kai explains he is just scouting since they are in dangerous territory. Kaki is deeply anxious and demands to help. But when Kai rejects her offer, she gets incredibly annoyed. After some bickering, he finally agrees to let her help, sending her to gather info on the capital. But let's pause right here because they have absolutely no idea that someone has been listening to their entire conversation. A mysterious man smirks as he watches Kaki leave. Kai eventually heads back to his room after a long, fruitless search, empty-handed but knowing a dark threat is lurking nearby. Suddenly, noise from the hallway catches his attention. He steps out to find the other candidates gathered in panic. The shocking news? Kaki has completely vanished. Nobody realized Kai was gone either since he has his own private room. When they ask if he knows anything, he acts clueless. Shuji deduces she must have left the castle grounds. With dawn approaching, the group rushes out to find her. While searching, Kai spots her student ID discarded on the dark pavement. But the moment he grabs it, 4 masked assassins ambush him. But Kai is lightning fast, wiping out 3 of them instantly. He corners the last guy, mocking their amateur skills and demanding to know who sent them. The terrified spy freezes in sheer panic as Kai demands answers. Meanwhile, inside a dark hideout, Kaki is bound in chains. 2 enemy agents interrogate her, but she refuses to utter a single word. They keep pressuring her for secrets about the hero candidates. Since she refuses to cooperate, one of the thugs brutally tears her shirt open. What they do not realize is that Kai is already watching from the shadows. Using his assessment skill, he confirms they are incredibly weak, completely baffled how such trash captured her. He wastes no time, executing both guards instantly. Kaki is deeply embarrassed to be seen in this state. He frees her from the chains, but suddenly, he senses a powerful threat rushing their way. It is Rains, the Holy Knight. He lunges with a lethal strike, but they both dodge. Rains just smiles, coldly announcing that they both must die right here. Rains is not just a holy knight, he is a general in the Demon King's army. Seeing traitors in the heart of the capital, Kai realizes this kingdom is completely doomed. Inspecting his stats, Kai sees that Rains is an incredibly powerful all-rounder. They clash violently, and while Kai evades his blade, Rains suddenly blasts him with fire magic, catching him off guard. Somehow, Kai dodges the blast. Rains ignites his sword, boasting that Kai is finished. But Kai is far faster, drawing his hidden firearm and firing a bullet directly through the knight's skull. Rains drops dead instantly. Kai despises using his gun for fights like this, knowing his ammunition is strictly limited. But he simply had no other choice to survive. He realizes he must master close-quarters combat to survive in this fantasy world. Meanwhile, Kaki is totally shocked, admitting it is pretty terrifying to know one of their classmates carries a lethal weapon. Kai casually explains it is just standard gear for an assassin. She thanks him for the rescue, and when he asks why she did not use her domination power, she reveals it is useless when her hands are bound. As they escape, she warns him that the enemies are targeting their entire class. But Kai already knows this, thanks to the 4th cultist he interrogated earlier, who spilled everything. The cult was ordered to slaughter every candidate, using Kaki as a hostage to hunt the rest. But a massive mystery remains, and trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this unfolds. Let's jump right into a twist that changes everything. Kai survived that deadly curse, meaning no demon did this. Humans are betraying their own kind. Morning was just breaking when Shuji finally tracked them down. Grateful that Kaki was safe, Kai quickly explained the Demon King's cult and the human traitors. The worst part was that, unlike monsters, they could not easily spot human enemies. This terrifying threat meant absolute caution. They kept it from Leonora, knowing she would not care anyway. Their plan was simple: gather the candidates and figure out their next move. But suddenly, thick smoke erupted, and cultists surrounded them out of nowhere. They braced for battle, but they were not the only ones targeted. Every single candidate group was cornered. Kai scanned the field, counting 6 enemies. Their stats were weaker than Rainey's, but they were still highly dangerous. As the 6 lunged, Kaki froze them instantly, allowing Kai to pierce their heads with sharp knives. Shuji felt sick watching them execute humans so effortlessly. He tried to object, but Kai cut him off immediately. He simply told him they are the enemy. Right then, a survivor lunged at Shuji. Shuji tried to reason with him, but the fanatic just ranted about serving his master. Kaki went to help, but Kai held her back. Shuji had to handle this himself. Shuji shattered the cultist's sword, begging him to surrender and live. But the stubborn zealot refused to yield, lunging forward and slicing Shuji's hand. Shuji struck back, slashing the man's chest. The cultist collapsed, and Shuji wanted to just leave him. But Kai demanded his death. Finish him, or he remains a threat. Though Shuji hesitated, he ultimately did exactly as Kai ordered. Meanwhile, Arashi and his crew dealt with their own attackers, with Arashi mercilessly finishing the last man with his power. Now watch closely, because Rina's group struggled to execute humans, leaving her girls heavily injured. Suddenly, Leonora materialized, teasingly asking if she should give them all a passing grade. The cultists enraged further at her sight. She calmly explained that protecting her own candidates was natural. One man sneered, reminding her that she did not even have her knight. How could she do anything alone? Leonora merely laughed, calling them pathetic amateurs brainwashed by the Demon King. She did not even consider them actual threats. They all charged at once, but Leonora effortlessly activated her domination magic, slamming them to the dirt. They were completely paralyzed. Rina realized this power was just like Kenzaki's. Do not dare compare my skills to that, Leonora snapped back. My domination is completely superior in power and range. When Rina asked why she saved them, Leonora smirked, mentioning their passing grade. The saved candidates quickly thanked her for the protection. One desperate survivor even grabbed her dress, begging her to pay attention and set them free. Leonora simply looked down, dryly apologizing to him for still being alive. Then, she cast her domination magic over every candidate, giving a single command: slaughter the men on the ground. Their bodies moved entirely against their will, forced to execute the defenseless cultists. This was the true horror of her magic. Watching from afar, Kai and his stunned Kaki saw everything. She could not believe Leonora controlled so many minds simultaneously. Her scale was terrifying. 12 hours after the ambush, the shaken candidates gathered inside the main hall. Many were in terrible shape and utterly traumatized by the events. Narumi was furious, swearing he would not let Leonora escape punishment for forcing them to murder against their will. Shuji blamed his own late arrival for the tragedy, but Kai bluntly told him it made no difference. Right now, none of them possessed the strength to resist her. Kai knew that with the demon army's general dead, their enemies would remain quiet for now. He pulled Kaki aside, explaining that he urgently needed her unique assistance to counter Leonora's absolute domination magic. He needed similar powers to analyze the spell. But when he asked Kaki to dominate him, she got completely flustered. "I know what you are thinking, and yes," she turned bright red. By the next morning, the cultists were purged, and the kingdom hosted a massive parade. It was a grand celebration honoring the summoning of the hero candidates. This public spectacle proved the candidates had shown their strength against the dark cult. The capital's citizens cheered, welcoming their young protectors with open arms. Once everyone gathered, Leonora ordered them back to the temple city of Alpha. Kai quickly reminded the group that Alpha was their initial summoning location, and he suspected Leonora ruled it completely. Kai asked if she was joining them, but she claimed she had other business to handle. She left them under the watchful eye of Gas. Rena protested, pointing out that their dorms had burned to the ground. Rena saw one girl trembling so violently she could not even speak. The sheer terror of Leonora had paralyzed her. The archbishop departed with a smirk, leaving behind deep, burning hatred. Shortly after, Gas escorted the candidates toward their destination. As night fell, they established camp, and Arashi silently led his group back into the dark forest. Kaki asked Kai if the strike was happening tonight. Kai confirmed that with Leonora absent and the guards weak, this was their absolute best shot at killing Gas. Kai saw no reason to interfere with their plans. He preferred to just watch. Meanwhile, Narumi baited Gas deep into the woods with lies of a giant beast, and the old knight fell for it. Since they were so close to the capital, a roaming monster posed a massive threat. Suddenly, Arashi launched a devastating surprise attack on Gas. Completely blindsided, the old knight coughed up blood. Arashi mocked him, noting that even his strongest magic failed to kill the veteran. Gas struggled to stand, but then stepped directly onto a concealed landmine. Boom! A massive explosion. The blast sent him flying. Arashi grinned, gloating that the trap was custom-made for him. Gas shielded himself with raw mana, but the damage was already done. Gas glared, muttering how disappointed he was by this treacherous ambush. Immediately after, Arashi's entire squad closed in, completely surrounding the wounded knight. Recognizing the danger of his situation, Gas fired a brilliant distress signal into the night sky. Watching from afar, Kai scoffed, remarking that Arashi had clearly messed up. The brilliant distress signal immediately alerted the nearby royal soldiers, who rushed toward the scene. However, they never made it. Kai blocked their path and personally slaughtered every single one. Back in the forest, Gas was completely overwhelmed by the candidates' combined assaults. He could not keep pace. Soon, his arm was severed, and he stood covered in blood. Arashi mockingly praised the veteran for his incredible endurance. Narumi brought up the distress flare, assuming the old man was simply buying time. But Gas replied that stalling was no longer necessary. Suddenly, Leonora stepped into the clearing, wearing a casual smile. She remarked that Gas looked truly cornered. The candidates froze in absolute horror at her sudden arrival. Meanwhile, Shuji, Reina, and several others spotted Kaki using her own domination magic to bind the royal soldiers. She claimed she was following orders, but nobody believed her. They knew Kaki was too prideful to serve anyone. Then, Kai stepped forward and declared that she was following his commands. Shuji was utterly shocked to learn that Kai had eliminated the entire royal guard unit. Kai calmly explained that since Arashi was busy fighting Gas, he handled the interference. Finally, Shuji understood the full picture. Shuji asked if he joined forces with Arashi. Kai replied he only does what he wants, telling Shuji to go find Arashi. And that's where we leave it. Join me next time. Alright, you and I are diving straight into a high-stakes battle as Shuji rushes to find Arashi, while Leonora coldly reminds Gas he is losing, forcing the old knight to accept his limits. Arashi refuses to back down, declaring he won't just tuck his tail and run away. Meanwhile, another candidate demands to know if Leonora is the one controlling their minds. Leonora explains her spell has conditions. If a target possesses a massive pool of mana, her mind control becomes far less effective, making them much harder to fully dominate. But for those relying purely on raw power without proper mana control, she can seize them instantly. She calls her a coward, daring her to face them in a direct, head-on battle. Leonora simply smiles, confidently promising to break their fangs and handle them all herself. Arashi lunges forward in a blind rage, but she is way too fast for him. She summons a massive boulder that sends him crashing back. Then, she effortlessly manipulates fire, water, and wind to utterly dominate the other helpless candidates. Narumi swoops down to grab Arashi and escapes into the sky just as Shuji arrives with backup. He urges Arashi to stop, asking what this reckless fighting is even supposed to achieve. Defiant, Arashi dares Shuji to stop him by force, spitting that he can't stand Shuji's peaceful ideals. Shuji turns to the remaining candidates, asking if they feel the same way. Rina steps forward, pledging her full support to Arashi. Leonora just laughs at their petty bickering, mocking them for trying to start a hopeless rebellion right before her eyes. She asks if they seriously expect her mercy, even if they surrender now. Before anyone can reply, she summons a violent cyclone, brutally blowing everyone back and wounding them. Shuji panics, seeing his classmates bleeding, but Arashi tells him to get a grip. If Shuji wants to protect them, he must fight seriously, or they will all be annihilated. Shuji finally understands the stakes. There is no other choice. He readies himself for battle alongside Rina and the other candidates. Leonora boasts that she will show them the massive gap in their power levels. Hidden nearby, Kaki turns to Kai, asking what their next move should be. Now pay attention here, because Kai has a genius plan. He wants to wait until Leonora actually tries to enslave everyone before striking. Until then, they must trust their fired-up classmates. Even the wounded, Gas struggles to his feet, desperately pledging his loyalty to her. Leonora instantly heals his broken body, making him stronger than ever and ready to strike. Dread washes over the candidates. They worked so hard to defeat Gas, and now he is fully restored. Rina quickly rallies them, saying their superior numbers still give them the edge. Leonora confidently challenges them to attack whenever they want. She explains this whole battle is a test. If they cannot defeat her, they have no business trying to be heroes. The chaos erupts. Gas immediately struggles to handle Shuji's relentless magical sword strikes. Leonora fires a massive blast of water magic at Shuji, but Rina steps in to nullify it. Still, the shockwave leaves Shuji injured. The candidates launch their own attacks at Leonora, but they cannot even get close to touching her. Meanwhile, Kai remains hidden, using his appraisal skill to analyze Leonora's stats. He spots a massive opening. Despite her godlike magic, her physical defense is surprisingly weak. One solid physical hit would end this, but Gas is in the way. Arashi tells Shuji to leave the knight to him and target Leonora, but Shuji has his own problems. His magical attacks are useless against her barrier. Another candidate hands Shuji a simple steel sword, and Leonora smiles, noting he finally looks ready for a real duel. The other candidates cannot help Shuji since their magic is totally useless against Leonora. They also cannot assist Arashi, who is locked in close combat, though he survives because Gas is still low on stamina. Since Arashi cannot use his explosive power either, the duel remains completely balanced. Meanwhile, Leonora rains down deadly range magic, making it impossible for Shuji to get close. I know what you are thinking. Shuji needs to close the gap fast, but he just cannot find an opening. Leonora smirks, praising Shuji since almost nobody in the kingdom can dodge her attacks like him. Still, the battle is entirely one-sided. He just cannot get close enough to strike. With no support, Shuji charges forward at full speed, slicing clean through her wind magic. Leonora retaliates with ground and fire spells, but he miraculously dodges every single blast. She realizes he is using magic as unconscious armor, showing his insane growth rate. She feels a brief chill of fear, but still easily blows him away. Meanwhile, Arashi is struggling. With his powers completely drained, Arashi has no way to defeat Gas. The old knight lands a quick slash across his stomach, infuriating Arashi, who cannot believe he is losing. He drops to his knees as Gas claims this is his limit, but Arashi refuses to quit. Screaming that he was born to be strong, he unleashes a monstrous punch, flooring Gas. Arashi takes the win. Back with Shuji, he knows he must succeed for his friend's sake. He stands, a menacing aura flaring around him, though Leonora remains completely calm. She is certain he cannot touch her, but she is dead wrong. In a split second, Shuji teleports right in front of her, slicing her hand. It seems impossible to her. Suddenly, Shuji is right behind her. She barely pushes him back with water magic, finally realizing the terrifying truth. He has mastered instant teleportation movement. He flashes again, inches from her neck, but she suddenly commands him to kneel. Shuji instantly freezes, paralyzed. Smiling, she admits he forced her to use her trump card. Kai sees her use her ultimate spell and whispers for Kaki to get ready. Leonora smirks, admitting she never wanted to rely on enslavement, but Shuji is now entirely frozen. The other candidates rush in to save Shuji, but Leonora simply orders them to halt. They all freeze mid-stride. She mockingly tells them they did great and passed. She shrugs off the defeat of Gas, calling him just a replaceable knight. As long as she controls everyone, there will be no issues. The candidates watch in absolute despair. Leonora reveals the truth. They only summon candidates to brainwash them before they grow strong enough to become actual threats. Suddenly, 3 daggers fly at her from behind. She easily evades them, coolly stating she knew he was hiding. It was Kai. He looks surprised she noticed someone ordinary. Leonora remarks that something felt off about him from the very start. Disappointed by his weak ambush, she commands him to halt. Just like that, Kai is frozen too. As she boasts about her victory, a sudden bullet shatters her shoulder. Leonora is completely shocked. How can he move, let alone fire, while under her absolute mind control? She was sure her spell had him locked down. Before she can react, he fires again, hitting her stomach. This bizarre weapon terrifies her since guns do not exist here. Her magical barriers are useless against modern lead. Kai quickly explains what a gun is, adding that he only has a few bullets left and hates wasting ammunition. Leonora unleashes a desperate spell, but it only singes his robe as he vanishes. Suddenly, he is right behind her with a gun pressed to her head. He mocks her poor close combat skills, pointing out that her mind control never worked on him. And that is where we leave it. This massive gamble by Kai totally paid off, thanks to his secret accomplice, Kaki. Alright, you and I are about to see how this wild plan worked. The night before, Gas had Kaki cast her domination skill on him, figuring the first spell cast always beats out any new ones. This meant Kaki's skill would completely block Leonora's brainwashing magic later. Plus, candidates have divine protection, making their abilities far stronger than standard spells. Kaki, however, was still extremely skeptical about it. Her skill felt way too weak compared to Leonora's overwhelming force. Steady did the exact same thing, casting his spell first so he could reclaim his monsters. It was an insane gamble, but they had 0 other options. Cut back to the present, and Leonora finally puts the pieces together, blaming Kenzaki. And she is spot on. Kai is acting under his spell, coldly announcing her time is up as he prepares to pull the trigger. But instead of shooting, he slams magic-sealing handcuffs onto her. They are the exact same cuffs used on Kenzaki earlier. Trapped and powerless, she looks up and asks Kai what he actually plans to do with her. His terms are simple. Send them back to their own world, and she walks free. But Leonora just apologizes, claiming it is totally impossible. Her magic can only summon heroes, not send them back. Returning them requires an entirely different magic system. Kai can tell she is telling the truth. She really has no way to send them home. So, he asks how she ever planned to do it. She explains that summoning demands massive energy, so they rely entirely on their god. Since their deity was the one who brought them here, he is supposed to send them back once the Demon King is finally defeated. But her voice wavers. The truth is, no past hero candidates have ever actually made it home. They were either slaughtered by the Demon King or just vanished from the face of the earth. Hearing this, Kai gets ready to end her, but Shuji suddenly blocks him. Shuji argues he only helped because he thought Leonora was their ticket home. Since she cannot do it, he wants to keep his hero status. He refuses to live as a branded traitor. But Kai snaps back, asking if they are not already traitors. Leonora tries to play peacemaker, promising to forget this night ever happened. But Shuji cuts her off, saying executing a saintess is a capital crime that ruins them all. Most candidates side with Shuji, though Narumi stays loyal to Kai. Shuji admits that getting rid of Leonora makes sense, but then drops the ultimate question, what happens next? Kai seems to understand exactly what he is getting at. But then, in a move that completely shocked everyone, trust me, you're going to want to see this, he shoots Leonora right between the eyes. Her body drops, and Kai vanishes in a smoke cloud. The other candidates are furious at his reckless move, but Kaki realizes this was always part of Kai's master plan from their secret talk hours ago. He had told her their main objective was finding a way back, but if that failed, Plan B was always to eliminate her. He knew if they kept her alive with no way home, Shuji would end up protecting her. So Kai planned to execute her anyway and take the entire blame himself. That is why he left a few guards breathing so they would point their fingers solely at him. He told Kaki to pin everything on him and lead the others back to the Empire. She doubted she could play the part, but he insisted, telling her to use her skills to sway negotiations. When she asked where he would go, he just told her not to worry. Meanwhile, deep inside a gloomy castle, a shadow minion reports his failure to assassinate the hero candidates to the Demon King. The Demon King does not even care, telling his subordinate to relax. He knows the heroes will eventually march to the front lines anyway. This twisted game is getting fun, and he is absolutely loving it. 2 days after the incident, Kai is lying low in the woods, about a half-day's walk from a nearby city. Since walking in as a wanted man is suicide, his plan is to sneak in after dark. Desperate for funds, he finds a bustling tavern. Inside, the atmosphere is loud, and a friendly local strikes up a conversation, asking where he hails from. Kai spins a quick lie, claiming he is a local searching for work. The stranger suggests he register as an adventurer, taking on quests from the local guild to earn some quick coin. He mentions the guild is short-handed and won't even check for identification. After a quiet night at an inn, relieved his face is unknown. Kai heads to the guild, observing the rough crowd gathered inside. He steps up to the desk to register. When they ask for his basic details, Kai uses his new alias, Siren, and claims his village was wiped out by the Demon King's forces. Siren was actually his elite code name from his past life. The receptionist explains the system, ranking from A down to F, with higher ranks bringing in the serious gold. As a complete rookie, Kai is placed in F rank. He heads straight to the bulletin board to snatch his very first task. But it does not take long before 3 punks show up, looking for a fight. They immediately begin mocking him. But our main character is absolutely not having it. You and I both know how these classic fantasy tropes go, right? Surrounded by local thugs warning him off a quest, our main character calmly thanks them for the heads up and tells them to scram. This just makes them even more furious. Whispers break out across the guild as everyone watches the bullies target yet another newbie. Suddenly, one lunges forward to teach him a lesson, but Kai effortlessly catches his fist mid-air, completely stopping him in his tracks. The attacker is stunned, instantly screaming at him to let go of his hand. Kai calmly lets go, wishing to avoid an unnecessary scene, but the idiot commands his friends to jump him together. They all charge at once, but our main character easily drops every single one of them before casually walking out. Walking away, he realizes he now has a very clear understanding of how regular adventurers stack up against elite hero candidates. They are shockingly weak. Because of this, he decides to wrap up his quest as quickly as possible. Cut to the woods, where he estimates the targets should be nesting based on the guild's info. Suddenly, he spots beast-like footprints on the dirt. He tracks them deep into the thicket, immediately sensing he is not alone. Multiple presences are closing in. He notes how exceptionally well these creatures hide, confirming they must be the targets. Out of nowhere, a beast launches a surprise attack from behind, but Kai's instincts flare and he easily dodges. He spots a human sword in its grip, meaning this monster has likely slaughtered a regular adventurer before. As he processes this, another beast leaps from the shadows. Kai dodges again, quickly scoops up a handful of dirt, and flings it directly into its eyes to blind it. While one is blinded, Kai delivers a devastating strike to the first creature's face. As it collapses, he snatches its weapon and finishes it off right then and there. The survivor watches in absolute terror. Before it can even react, Kai lunges and quickly puts it down with his knife. He then activates his evaluation skill to inspect their stats, realizing they pose 0 threat. Feeling incredibly confident, he decides to hunt down even more of them for easy money. A bit later, we are back at the guild, where everyone is staring at him in total shock. Kai dumps a massive pile of monster ears on the counter as proof. He asks the receptionist, Mia, if this is sufficient. Stunned, she confirms it is, asking if he really did this alone. Kai calmly nods, explaining that slaying them is simple. The only real challenge is actually tracking them down. He knows his combat skills are elite, but tracking targets remains a major weakness. Meanwhile, the onlookers are losing their minds over how easy he made the hunt look, whispering that he must be an elite, undercover hunter. And that is where we leave it today. She tells him to wait. Let's dive into the journey of our guy, Araji Kai. After picking up his reward, he strolls through the city night, counting his coins. Honestly, he's shocked at how much cash he made just hunting weak magic beasts. But survival comes first, and he needs a steady income. So, he decides to linger in the city for a bit, making a living as an adventurer. He figures building some solid guild connections will make gathering intel a breeze. Suddenly, a strange kid blocks his path out of nowhere. Kai looks him over, casually asking what he wants. Kai senses this kid is on a whole different level from those guild weaklings. The boy introduces himself as Lyle, a B-rank adventurer and head of the local guild. Kai just shrugs, asking, "So what?" Lyle demands to know if Kai is the newcomer who beat up his subordinates earlier that day. Kai just scoffs and fires back, telling him those guys were the ones who started it. Lyle explodes, yelling at him to stop lying about his crew getting wrecked by a random newbie. But Kai doesn't even flinch, calmly admitting that, yeah, it was indeed him. Losing his temper, Lyle vows to teach this arrogant newbie a painful lesson. He unleashes a barrage of punches, but to his utter frustration, Kai effortlessly dodges every strike until he gets bored. With a swift leg sweep, Kai sends Lyle crashing face first into the dirt. Lyle is completely stunned, stammering in disbelief. Kai calmly points out that while Lyle has speed, his moves are sloppy and full of wide openings. Livid, Lyle lunges again, screaming at Kai to shut his mouth. But Kai easily shuts him down, catching his arm and brutally slamming him onto the hard ground in one smooth motion. He explains that Lyle is probably just too used to fighting mindless beasts instead of actual humans. Still furious, Lyle demands why someone with his crazy strength would even bother with his men. Kai repeats that the whole thing was a misunderstanding and offers to explain. Fast forward a bit, and we are back inside the guild hall. A humbled Lyle apologizes to Kai, admitting he was entirely in the wrong. He viciously scolds and punishes his own men for lying. Shouting in rage, he demands they swallow their pride and bow to Kai right now. They mumble their apologies, and Kai shrugs it off, saying he does not hold a grudge now that the air is clear. But then, he brings up a crucial question. Lyle apologizes once more, promising to answer absolutely anything. Kai explains that he is a simple traveler who only registered as an adventurer to fund his ongoing journey, but he has a much bigger goal. Curious about Kai's crazy strength, Lyle asks what he is truly searching for. Now, wait for it, Kai drops a total bombshell. Lyle and his crew are completely flabbergasted, wondering if that is even possible. Then, one subordinate remembers rumors that the legendary hero candidates actually hailed from another world. Kai nods, confirming that is his exact goal. Lyle realizes this kind of interdimensional travel must involve complex magic, which is definitely out of their league. Kai knows finding a way home will be tough, but hopes Lyle's crew has some leads. Instantly, Lyle remembers someone, a legendary sage named enrollment. Naturally, Kai has no clue who that is. Lyle is shocked Kai has never heard of him. He explains that enrollment is an ancient elf whose legendary wisdom saved their nation multiple times. Kai suddenly realizes the name sounds familiar. He remembers reading about an elven sage in dusty old tomes. Since elves live deep in isolated forests, they are incredibly rare. Basically living legends in this world. Any elf who actually leaves the woods is instantly revered as a sage. Lyle adds that enrollment is well over 100 years old and famous for knowing almost everything. He is also a master spellcaster with a vast arsenal of magic. This gets Kai thinking. Elves have a deep connection with spirits, which fuels their incredible magical abilities. Even without a hero's spell, this sage might find another path. But Lyle's subordinate, Raka, interrupts, asking if this ancient elf is even still alive. After all, nobody has actually seen him in ages. Lyle just laughs it off, apologizing to Kai for not having any solid proof of the sage's current status. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Is this information even real? Kai reassures them it is actually gold. He heads out, but Lyle asks what he'll do in the other world. Kai just smirks, telling them to use their imagination. Leaving them thoroughly baffled, he heads back to the inn. Fast forward 1 week later at the guild. Mia hands Kai his well-earned reward for completing a quest. Stepping outside, Kai reflects on his week since meeting Lyle's group, glad to have stacked up a decent amount of cash. Suddenly, Lyle and Raka approach him, asking if he is finally free and inviting him out for a drink. But with a strangely distant look, Kai turns them down. Lyle calls him incredibly boring before they say their goodbyes. Walking away, Kai focuses on his thoughts. He has finally dug up some actual info on that mysterious sage, enrollment. The sage served as a royal advisor 10 years ago, but now lives near the western border, right in the middle of the war against the Demon King's army. With a solid lead in hand, Kai sees no reason to stay. It is time to hunt down the sage. Meanwhile, we shift to the Holy Temple City Alpha. Inside, the hero candidates are gathered in a serious meeting. Captain Heinrich of the 8th Night Course notes it has been a month since he took charge of them, stepping in for the fallen saints. Heinrich asks Mijuji if there are any issues with how things are being handled. Mijuji quickly reassures him that the captain is doing an amazing job. Pleased with the praise, Heinrich emphasizes that these candidates are vital to the kingdom, so treating them with utmost respect is his top priority. Still, Hashimoto Mari cannot shake the feeling that he is nothing like Leonora. The entire situation feels incredibly off to her. But then, Heinrich brings them back to the main topic. He explains that the higher-ups decided to officially mobilize the hero candidates. Meduji is shocked, asking if they are heading to the front lines. Heinrich confirms with a nod. Fierce battles are still raging at the western border. Heinrich unrolls a map, pointing directly at a fort right on the front lines. Meduji understands, but before he can bring up their deal, Heinrich cuts him off. He promises to protect anyone who is not suited for actual combat. Meduji is deeply relieved, thanking him for the reassurance. Heinrich then assigns them tasks, explaining that everyone must contribute to earn their keep. Meduji agrees it is only fair, while Mari asks exactly when they are expected to depart. Heinrich tells them they must set out urgently by the very next morning. He asks Meduji to notify everyone so they can prepare for the sudden journey. As Meduji and Mari head back, she feels a wave of relief. Heinrich actually agreed to their terms. Meduji admits he was worried their demands were a bit too much, but is glad it worked out. Mari guesses the knights are just terrified of handling the hero candidates without Leonora. That would explain why they are acting so incredibly humble. Meduji agrees, noting they are probably on pins and needles. Mari can't help but wonder about Kai, where he went, and what he is up to. Suddenly, we flash back to the past. Right when Leonora was assassinated and Kai abandoned the group, the bishop tensely demands to know who could have possibly slain their beloved Leonora. She reveals that Kai was actually one of the hero candidates. The bishop is completely floored, demanding his location. Rena says he fled, and trust me, we are definitely going to want to see where he ends up. All right? You and I are stepping right into a massive cover-up as guards whisper and wonder if Saint Tess Leonora is actually dead. Arashi Shinshuka was absolutely fuming, demanding that the bishop explain himself. But the bishop didn't buy it, hinting that the hero candidates actually teamed up to get rid of Leonora. Miru Shuji completely froze. But then, Leonora's own knight stepped forward, shocking everyone by claiming he witnessed the entire thing. He lied, claiming Miru Shuji and the others did try to save Saint Tess, but Araji Kai was simply too strong. Since a second knight backed this up, the bishop had to believe them. The bishop then asked if Araji Kai was truly that terrifying, and Miru Shuji confirmed it, explaining how he hid his power. Intrigued, the bishop invited them to his private chambers to talk. He requested one hero candidate to join him. Hidden nearby, Kenzaki Ren was using her abilities on the knights to eavesdrop, leaving Miru Shuji breathing a huge sigh of relief. Kenzaki Ren's quick thinking totally saved them there. Cut to the present, and Hashimoto Moore asks Miru Shuji if he's still stressing over Araji Kai, since there's no point in worrying. Miru Shuji faked a smile, but his mind was racing. He knew Araji Kai had sacrificed himself for them. It felt like a slap in the face since he was the one who swore to protect everyone. Feeling completely powerless, Miru Shuji gathered the group back in their room to deliver the heavy news. They had official orders to head straight to the front line. Every combat-ready fighter was ordered to pack up for tomorrow morning. Tension filled the air as the reality of war finally sank in. That's when Nagase walked right over. She bluntly told them it was way too late to be scared, since they volunteered for this. Shiori then spoke up, asking if they were going out there alone. Miru Shuji clarified they'd be accompanying the 8th Night Corps under Captain Heinrich. Kenzaki Ren then quietly asked about Aragi Kai, only to hear the temple had placed a massive bounty on his head. Countless forces were out there trying to hunt him down, with absolutely zero clues on his actual location. Kenzaki Ren looked completely heartbroken, and just as Miru Shuji tried to comfort her, Nagase rudely cut him off. She furiously yelled that she didn't care about his traitor status, she'd burn him to ashes if they met. Meanwhile, Kenzaki Ren was hurting, wondering why Araji Kai left her behind. Now pay attention here, because as the group is trekking deep into the dangerous jungle, Arashi suddenly senses something terrifying and stops dead in his tracks. Just then, Shiori started whining about being exhausted, begging for a break. Hashimoto Moore shut her down instantly, reminding her they just ate and would be marching straight until dark. A few guys grumbled, wondering if they'd ever see any action after 2 boring days of marching. Suddenly, Arashi Shinshuka raises his hand, ordering the entire group to freeze. When asked why, Arashi warned that a magical beast was lurking nearby. But a loudmouthed knight pushed forward, aggressively demanding to know why the hero candidates had stopped without permission. Miru Shuji tried to explain the danger, but the knight sneered, claiming he saw nothing. He arrogantly yelled that they were under his command and couldn't move a muscle without him. This pushed Arashi over the edge. He violently grabbed the arrogant knight by his collar, demanding him to repeat those words as the man instantly began to shake with fear. The knight stammered, asking what he was doing, while Midu Shuji pleaded for him to stop. Arashi just spat back, asking why he should listen to a worthless weakling. Suddenly, a surprise attack forced Arashi to let go and dodge. Lunging from the shadows was a terrifying rabbit-faced monster with blade-like arms, instantly putting the guards on high alert. They screamed that it was a sharp rabbit, ordering everyone to draw their weapons. But the beast charged with insane speed, violently disarming the guards before they could even react. A rabbit cornered a defenseless guard, preparing to slice him. But out of nowhere, a massive blast of white-hot fire erupted, completely vaporizing the monster, courtesy of Arashi's explosive power. The trembling guard gasped and thanked Arashi for saving his life, but Arashi just scoffed, telling him to get out of the way and stop being useless. You and I both know how powerful Arashi is, but even after easily wiping out every single beast with devastating force, he is still not satisfied with his strength. A quick flashback shows the moment Araji Kai aimed a gun at Leonora. Just remembering him makes Arashi absolutely boil with pure, unadulterated rage. He was seriously frustrated. From day one, Araji Kai never showed a single ounce of fear, which meant he was definitely the stronger of the two. Kai's total lack of reaction only proved it. Arashi thought his flashy new explosive magic made him unstoppable, so it was incredibly frustrating to realize Araji Kai was still way ahead of him. Snapping back to the present, Midu Shuji suddenly interrupts Arashi's train of thought, asking why he looks so completely pissed off. Arashi just brushed it off as nothing. Honestly, he just hated taking orders from a worthless weakling who did not deserve his respect. Sometime later, the group finally arrive at Fort Truss on the western border of the Diggerest Holy Kingdom, where Captain Amelia of the Holy Knights introduced herself as their commander. Heinrich asked what happened to their previous watchdog captain, and Amelia casually replied that he died a week ago, leaving the hero candidates thoroughly shaken. Amelia was about to offer them some well-deserved rest, but she was cut off by guards screaming that the Demon King's army was launching a massive attack. Amelia cheerfully noted there was clearly no time to rest and said she was counting on them. Midu Shuji agreed, ordering every candidate to prepare for immediate battle. Arashi looked fiercely determined and ready to fight. As the alert bells rang and the demon army closed in, Max gasped at the unbelievable sea of monsters. He stammered, wondering why there were so many. Heinrich quickly ordered his men to open fire and thin the horde down before they reached the gates. Volleys of arrows and massive fireballs rained down as the defenders unleashed absolute hell. But the monsters kept marching forward, screaming their dark promise to destroy all humans. Midu Shuji was genuinely shocked to see them advancing through such heavy fire. Amelia explained, these beasts do not die easily, warning the candidates never to underestimate their physical strength. Compared to them, humans were incredibly fragile. Feeling the pressure, Midu Shuji asked Amelia for their next move, but she simply told him to follow Heinrich's command. She announced she would personally lead the Fourth Order Knights into the fray, and Heinrich agreed, saying he was about to issue the exact same order. However, some crazy fighters were already down there clashing with the horde. Midu Shuji was confused, but Nagase quickly explained that Arashi and his crew had already rushed ahead. Stunned, Midu Shuji asked her to repeat herself. Meanwhile, as the smoke cleared on the battlefield, the monsters spotted the reckless humans standing directly in their path. The beasts laughed at Arashi and his squad, mocking them as fools walking to their deaths. But Arashi did not care who they were, coldly declaring he would slaughter them all. And just like that, the chaotic battle begins. As monsters break through the fort walls, you and I are left watching Midu Shuji desperately jump in to block a fatal blow with his sword. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the action as Miduji shocks the guard, unleashing his extending sword to slay the beast. With that kill, a wave of confidence washes over Miduji. Realizing his strength is skyrocketing, he rallies the squad, shouting that they can win this fight if they face it without a single ounce of fear. His speech fires up the other hero candidates, filling them with crazy energy. As Miduji leaps back into the chaos, he reminds himself that hesitation is his worst enemy on the battlefield. If he wavers as their leader, the entire team will panic. Remembering Araji Kai's harsh lesson on the high cost of being naive, he steels his resolve. Meanwhile, Hashimoto Mei urges everyone to stop spectating and charge into battle alongside Midu Shuji. Nagasar unleashes his ultimate skills while Kakiren starts completely dominating the monsters. This brutal clash between the hero candidates and the beast horde keeps raging on. The watching guards are left totally speechless by this display. These candidates are absolutely demolishing the Demon King's vanguard. Heinrich screams at the guards to cover the candidates and push the demons back. With a roar, the guards charge into the fray, fighting a long, bloody battle until the demon army is completely wiped out. Amelia happily declares their victory, sending the guards into wild celebrations. But as twilight falls, Shuji is left standing alone, deeply lost in thought. Heinrich interrupts, asking if this was his first real war and how he feels. Miduji admits leading a massive clash is brutal. In the heat of the moment, his tunnel vision made it almost impossible to issue proper commands. Heinrich gives him credit for surviving and praises the candidates for securing the win, but he is not letting them off easy, warning the young heroes to stay on high alert. They only face mid-tier grunts today. Fighting actual high-ranking demons is a whole different level of nightmare, given their terrifying, godlike magic. Miduji nods solemnly, promising to remember that warning. Meanwhile, deep within the dark demon den, a low-level monster is fearfully reporting to Stanaga, one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly kings. The creature begs for forgiveness for failing his mission, and Stanaga Gaia is absolutely furious. Meanwhile, in the great forest of Ekhat, Araji Kai is on the move, nearing the forest edge and hoping his long journey to find the legendary sage is finally ending. Now watch closely, because something suddenly zooms right at him, throwing out whipping tongues with blisteringly fast speed that shocks him. Scanning the trees, he spots the bizarre magical beasts. His system identifies them as tongue baboons. After checking their stats, he just shrugs, realizing they are actually super weak. The baboons strike again, but Araji Kai effortlessly slips under their reach. As they swarm him, he unleashes his insane agility, leaping backward to dodge their coordinated assault as those creepy tongues lunge forward once more. Tired of the games, Araji Kai draws his blade and slices right through one incoming tongue. The baboons freeze in utter shock as he casually finishes the cut, severing the tongue completely. Another baboon tries a tail whip, but it is painfully slow. He dodges effortlessly, delivering a fatal counter. The remaining beasts freeze in sheer terror, completely paralyzed and unsure of their next move. Annoyed by the delay, Araji challenges them, asking if they are coming to him or if he needs to end this himself. Sure enough, moments later, the baboons lie dead on the forest floor. Araji Kai notices the beasts around here are getting way stronger, making him wonder if he is nearing the Demon King territory. Or perhaps this remote forest is just completely untouched by knights and adventurers. He realizes that going deeper means encountering ancient monsters that humans have never faced. Luckily, his trusty appraisal skill allows him to identify these hidden threats instantly. Araji Kai vows to keep his guard up. Before long, he finally reaches Mount Urugano, a massive mountain range that serves as a natural barrier against the marching Demon King army. He knows the highest, deadliest peak is Reaper Wolf Mountain, where legend says the sage Albama resides. He racks his brain, trying to recall if a small village is located at the mountain base. Arriving at the coordinates, Araji is completely horrified to find the entire village engulfed in raging flames. He instantly suspects the Demon King army has struck. His worst fears are confirmed. Monsters are swarming the burning ruins. Watching silently from a high rooftop, Arji realizes this place should be far from the war zone, meaning he must tread carefully. You and I both know how brutal these demons are as they ask Hector if they should execute the villagers, but Hector quickly stops them, commanding them to enslave the humans instead. He demands updates on Alana Carrot, and when a scout confirms the sage resides atop Reaper Wolf Mountain, Hector gets incredibly annoyed. Their intelligence was absolutely correct. Emphasizing that the sage Alban Carrot is their prime target, Hector orders his beast forces to rest in the ruined village for the night. Tomorrow they ascend, but a nervous demon points out that the peak is guarded by the Reaper Wolfen, terrifying, wild beasts that absolutely no one has ever tamed. Unless they slaughter these Wolfen, reaching their target is impossible. When asked why, the scout explains that mind control magic is completely useless against such highly intelligent beasts. Apparently, the 4 heavenly kings once tamed a legendary dragon, but doing the same to a Reaper Wolfen is impossible. Hector scoffs, saying he is no wizard, so debating useless tactics is pointless. Their only real path forward is to slay these legendary beasts, and his squad loudly grunts in agreement. Observing this level of coordination, Araji suspects Hector is no ordinary demon. He opens his system to inspect the beast's stats, confirming that Hector is indeed one of the Demon King's elite, high-ranking generals. Suddenly, Hector senses an unwelcome gaze. He snaps, ordering his minions to search the immediate area. Araji is highly impressed by Hector's ridiculously sharp instincts. As the search party fans out, our hero remains completely chill, relying on his master-level stealth skills. He spots the terrified villagers bound tightly in ropes. Despite their plight, Aragi restrains himself from intervening. His main objective, identical to the demons, is reaching the legendary sage Elbana Carrot first. He must climb that mountain before the demon army makes their move. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the absolute highest, most treacherous peak of Mount Urugano Reaper Wolf Mountain. Araji has successfully scaled the lower slopes. With no marked paths on his map, he follows narrow animal trails. As the air thins and his vision blurs on the crumbling terrain, he forces himself to tread cautiously despite his rush. Pushing forward, a heavy presence weighs on him. Could it be the fabled Reaper Wolfen? He focuses his hearing, picking up 3 separate sets of footsteps, growling louder in the shadows. Even though these beasts remain hidden, their murderous intent is overwhelming. In the blink of an eye, he is completely surrounded. Just as they pounce, he leaps onto a thick branch. Seeing their scale, Araji finally understands why so many climbers vanish here. He immediately casts Appraisal to check the wolves' attributes. Their individual stats are pretty average, but their pack coordination is deadly. Suddenly, a wolfen rams the trunk, snapping the tree clean in half. Agari has to move instantly. Plucking a simple leaf, he floods it with mana and hurls it. Within seconds, the beast is sliced cleanly in half. As the pack lunges, Agari systematically cuts them down using nothing but mana-infused leaves. 2 more drop dead. Suddenly, another pack of 5 or 6 wolves prepares to rush him. This time, Agari channels mana directly into his own body. Knowing conscious control makes a massive difference in combat. Leonora once told him divine protection users struggle with mana control. But you and I know he's different. Stick with me, you and I are about to see how our main character learns that people relying on divine protection are totally clueless about mana, making them easy targets. No wonder her enslavement magic works so easily. To survive, Agari knows he has to eliminate this fatal flaw. Mastering mana control is his only ticket to resisting enemy spells. Sure, raw mana might not match divine protection, but it is essential for surviving this new world. Agari keeps grinding, fighting off wolfen beasts and practicing mana control while scaling the peak. Suddenly, Agari senses a strange presence and dashes forward. He confronts the massive wolfen leader head-on, seeking confirmation right before the beast can even react. The pack stands there completely baffled. But the moment their leader strikes, Agari blocks the attack effortlessly and puts the beast down without a second thought. With their alpha dead, the rest of the pack scrambles in absolute terror. Seeing them scatter, Agari refuses to let them escape and immediately gives chase all by himself. Then, something mind-blowing happens. A glowing red projection of the beast appears in his vision. Could this be a glimpse of the enemy's next move? Oh, absolutely. It is a literal future predictor. Armed with this broken skill, he slashes through 2 more wolves, realizing he can see 1 full second into the future. The surviving wolves freeze in pure terror, but Agari has other plans. He tells them to stay put for some extra training and quickly wipes out the entire pack. Checking his status menu, he spots a brand new skill, Divine Protection of Foresight. Now he can predict every single enemy movement. And remember, his appraisal skill evolved too, boosting his basic blessings to enhanced. Now he can analyze absolutely everything. Feeling the exhaustion hit, Agari decides it is finally time to rest. But peace does not last. He senses an overwhelming presence. Could it be the Demon King's vanguard? Scrapping his rest plans, he dashes straight toward the danger. Up on the snowy peaks, monsters have cornered a half-elf named Mare. Their leader, Hector, mockingly praises her fiery spirit, calling it worthy of a sage's disciple. But don't blink, because what happens next is wild. Just as the execution order is given and a beast lunges, Agari drops in out of absolutely nowhere, sweeping Mare into his arms. The entire battlefield freezes. Mare is stunned, a human just saved her. The baffled monsters roar, demanding to know who this unwanted guest is. Agari counts 10 monsters led by Hector, a high-ranking demon. When a confused Mare asks why he saved her, Agari asks if she is the disciple of Sage El Benacaret. Once she nods, Agari admits he just needs a word with her master. He uses appraisal on her, noting she is a half-elf with some serious magic skills. Hector does not care who this human is, he is an enemy, period. He orders his minions to slaughter them both. Agari knows defeating these beasts is his ticket to earning the sage's favor. As the horde charges, Agari activates Foresight. The results are incredible. He reads their trajectories perfectly, blocking every incoming strike with absolute ease. The beasts are left speechless. With lightning-fast reflexes, Agari weaves through them, carving them up with his blade as the survivors watch in horror. With Foresight active, Agari feels absolutely invincible in close-quarters combat. But how long can he keep this up? Sensing danger, Hector orders his minions to fall back and unleash magic spells. They summon a hail of magical projectiles, aiming straight at our main character. Agari braces himself for the impact, but suddenly, Mare steps up and casts a spell. You saw that too, right? Channeling the wind spirit Sylph, she blows the attacks away. Agari is stunned, realizing only elves can borrow power like that. Mare nods, thanking him for buying her time. But Hector is absolutely furious, roaring that they will not get out of this alive. The demon leader steps into the fray himself. Getting serious, Agari tells Mare to hold off the minions while he handles the big boss. She agrees but snaps at him to stop calling her an elf. Her name is Mare. Agari smiles, putting his full trust in the sage's disciple. She yells her correct name, but then just sighs and tells him to forget it. Meanwhile, Agari faces Hector head-on, immediately feeling his overwhelming pressure. Using Hector's own blade to launch himself into the air, Agari strikes from above, but the demon blocks his daggers effortlessly and counters with lightning speed. Agari barely dodges, landing a swift slash on Hector's arm. The demon is amused that the human actually reacted, praising the effort, but Agari is left sweating. The cut is barely a scratch. The gap in power is terrifying. Agari fully realizes that without his foresight skill, he would already be sliced to pieces. Hector mocks him, saying any ordinary human would have died by now. Agari quickly uses appraisal, revealing Hector's monstrous physical stats and a terrifying level 5 swordsmanship. Clashing head-on is a death sentence, even with foresight active. He needs a completely different strategy right now. Hector lunges forward with insane speed. Agari barely evades, but a grazing blow slices his hand, reminding him just how close to death he is. Predicting the future is useless if his physical body cannot keep up with the demon's speed. Hector laughs, taunting Agari for doing nothing but running. Suddenly, Agari pulls out a modern handgun and fires. Hector blocks the bullets with his bare hand, but to Agari's relief, the rounds actually penetrate, wounding him. The demon is completely shocked, screaming in fury at this strange, insolent weapon Agari just pulled out. Hector roars in pure rage, charging straight at him. Agari fires again, but this time, the demon easily weaves past the bullets, claiming he can predict their trajectory with no issue. Out of ammo, Agari relies on throwing knives. But Hector deflects every single blade with his massive sword. In a bizarre twist, Agari suddenly drops and sits flat on the ground. Before Hector can react, a grenade flies straight at his face as the demon charges. An absolute explosion erupts, shocking the entire battlefield. Mare watches in total disbelief, wondering who this mysterious guy is to be completely overwhelming a high-ranking demon of Hector's caliber. But Agari is running on empty. His handgun is dry, and that explosive was his final trump card. Now, only his dagger remains. As Hector rises, Agari realizes modern weapons are not enough. Furious at these strange tricks, the demon unleashes a rage-fueled strike, which Agari barely evades. Now or never. Agari activates weak point detection, locking his focus onto the demon's incoming stance. He sees the perfect opening right at Hector's throat. Slipping past the guard, Agari readies his blade for the killing blow. And that's where we leave it. He impales the demon's throat. But can Agari survive now that this insane skill has drained his mana dry? Alright, stick with me because Agari just collapsed in sheer exhaustion. His mana is completely drained, and things are looking incredibly bad. With Hector dead, the surrounding monsters lock eyes on the exhausted Agari and prepare to strike. Mire panics, her spirit energy completely depleted, yet she desperately wants to save the guy who just rescued her. Just as the beasts leap, a massive fire spell erupts, engulfing the entire pack in roaring flames and vaporizing them instantly. Agari immediately realizes this insane power is far beyond anything Nagasireya could ever pull off. Then, a gentle voice apologizes for arriving late. Mayor is absolutely thrilled, calling the newcomer her master, which is when the pieces finally click together in Agari's mind. This is Elba Carret, the legendary sage he was searching for. Elba thanks him for protecting her young apprentice, but Agari plays it cool, calling it a mere coincidence before asking if she is indeed the great sage Elba Carret. She confirms her identity, admitting she is now just a frail old shadow of her former self. Agari tries using his appraisal skill to inspect her, but his mana reserves are still too low. Even without appraisal, he knows Sage Elbana is a powerhouse. Defeating her is completely impossible, so he decides there is 0 point in lying and opts for total honesty instead. Elbana asks if he has business with her, and he confirms it. She remarks that people rarely seek her out without a strong reason, thanking him once again for saving her beloved disciple. She promises to answer his burning questions, but Mir suggests they head back to safety since the heavy scent of blood will lure wolves. Elbana agrees, inviting Agari back to her home so he can finally rest. Agari agrees, thinking to himself that saving the girl was a genius move that is already paying off. A short while later, the group finally arrives at Elbana's cozy cottage. Inside, Mir heads off to wash up in the bath. Agari wastes no time, asking Elbana why she chose to live in such a secluded place. She explains she wanted to return to nature and escape those who constantly tried to exploit her power even after her retirement. Agari nods in understanding, agreeing that her home is incredibly hard to reach. Elba mentions that strong fighters like him always find a way to track her down, and she is not about to turn them away. Now pay attention, because Agari gets straight to the point. He reveals he is actually one of the hero candidates summoned to destroy the Demon King. Albana is surprised, noting he belongs to the third generation, a rumor she never expected to be true. Hearing he is part of the third batch of heroes blows his mind, reminding him of Leonora's subtle hints about previous summonings. Albana confirms the second summoning happened 4 years ago, while the very first group was brought over 10 years before that. She reveals that both previous groups of heroes were entirely wiped out by the Demon King, prompting leaders to seal the ritual away forever. Yet, Saint Leonora chose to break that sacred seal to summon this brand new third generation. Albana was heavily against the idea, believing it was absolute madness to trust their world's fate to outsiders. But Agari calmly drops a bomb: he has already taken care of Leonora. This means no one else can perform another summoning. Elba is stunned, wondering how he could possibly overpower someone as formidable as Leonora. Agari simply smiles, noting there are plenty of ways to defeat an opponent who is far stronger than you. Elba laughs in agreement, finding it highly amusing that Leonora was taken down by her own pawn. She muses that the saint got exactly what she deserved. Understanding Agari's deep desire to return home, Elba decides to skip the small talk and get straight to the brutal truth. Her magic cannot send him back to his original world. Stunned and completely crestfallen, Agari desperately asks if she knows any other way for him to return. She explains that while summoning humans is possible, the reverse spell was lost centuries ago due to a lack of research. Nobody ever cared to look into it. Agari remembers Leonora saying the exact same thing. "I know what you were thinking, are they really forced to slay the Demon King?" Elba nods, but mentions demonic arts might just be the key. Hearing about demonic arts gives Agari his next clear target. Elba apologizes for her lack of answers and thanks him once again for saving her disciple, promising to reach out if she uncovers anything. Agari thanks her as she smiles, suggesting he might actually be the one to defeat the Demon King. But Agari admits he wants no part of that troublesome job. But if it is the only way home, he will drag the Demon King down. Elba freezes, sensing his pure rage and killer intent. He is unlike any hero she has ever met, cold, dark, and utterly ruthless. Finally, Agari bids her farewell, asking her to contact Siren at the Adventurer Guild if she happens to dig up any useful leads. Albana then decides to send Mayor along with him. Just as Mayor finishes her bath, she tells Agari he needs one too, since he is completely covered in dirt from the climb and the fight. Agari agrees she has a point, but before he can wash up, Albana cuts in with a sudden proposal. Agari asks what she means, and she drops a massive question: why not take her disciple along? Mayor is completely shocked, screaming in disbelief. But suddenly, the scene cuts forward, and the two are already traveling deep within the eastern region of the Dora demonic kingdom. This dangerous territory is the active front line against the holy kingdom of Dagarest, meaning Agari really did bring Mayor along for the ride. Agari comments on the surprisingly pleasant weather, since he heard the demon lands were incredibly harsh. Mayor quickly corrects him, explaining they are still on former Holy Kingdom territory, and the real nightmare begins deeper inside Dora. Agari realizes the demon army has already seized this entire region. Mayor points toward a massive city called Nutrat, situated near the western Erugano mountain range. She explains that the surrounding villages are gone, and the fallen city itself now serves as the active front line of the war, which is exactly where they are headed. She estimates it will take about 2 days of walking to reach it. Agari quietly asks what became of the villagers, and Mayor's voice turns incredibly somber as she shares their grim fate. Half of them were slaughtered on the spot, while the survivors were dragged away into brutal forced labor. Only a fortunate few managed to flee across the mountains. Hearing this, Agari nods, deeply impressed by her vast knowledge and feeling totally validated in his decision to bring her along. But wait, let's take a quick step back. We rewind to the moment Albana first made the suggestion. Agari immediately rejected the idea, leaving Mayor completely dumbfounded as she screamed at him to at least think about it first. Albana simply laughed, advising Agari not to be so hasty. She pointed out that for an outsider like him, Mayor's immense family knowledge would be incredibly valuable on his journey. The sage also admits she wanted to send Mayor out to gain real experience, but was too worried about sending her cute disciple alone. Agari looks highly skeptical. He asks why she is dumping Mayor on him instead of guiding her herself. Albana explains her traveling days are long gone, and despite her youthful looks, her time and power are rapidly fading. But then Agari stepped in and saved Mayor's life. As the young girl hesitates, saying she needs some time to process everything, Agari cuts her off, warning her that infiltrating demon lands is a suicide mission. He delivers a cold warning: if she drags him down, he will abandon her without hesitation. Elbana tells her disciple the choice is entirely hers to make, and Mare repeats those heavy words. She accepts the challenge, ready to travel with Agari. And as we return to the present, he spots her fatigue. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens to this duo next. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where a simple journey turns deadly. Mare warns Agari of a full day of hiking ahead, reminding him she has been training her body the entire time. Agari suggests they call it a day and rest, catching Mare completely off guard. She asks if he was actually going to dump her if she lagged behind, but Agari just stares like she's crazy. Are you out of your mind? He snaps, insisting he would never abandon her over a little exhaustion. He then grumpily tells her to get the camp set up. Surprised by his soft side, Mare happily agrees to handle the setup. Later that night, as they sit by the glowing fire, Mare happily eats her food, while Agari watches her with deep hesitation. Agari breaks the silence, warning her that their path ahead is going to get incredibly dangerous. He is determined to survive to get back home, but wonders if she has a strong enough reason to risk her life alongside him. He asks if her master, Elbana Karat, was telling the truth about her motivations. Mare hesitates, admitting it is painful to talk about before revealing that she has lost absolutely everything in her life. Her elven home was completely destroyed by the Demon King's forces. This shocks Agari, who thought this war was only between humans and monsters. Mare scoffs at the distinction, saying the demons just crush everyone in their path. She then drops a devastating truth, revealing that her entire family was slaughtered right in front of her. Her father sacrificed his own life to draw the beasts away, allowing her to escape. Paralyzed and helpless, she was left to die in the ruins after the horde moved on. That is when the great mage Elbana Karat found her, took her in, and trained her. Agari suddenly cuts her off, saying he does not care about her tragic past, only her goal. Mare tells him to use his brain. She dedicated her life to magic for one single purpose, to gain the raw power needed to slaughter monsters. Right now, her eyes are burning with pure vengeance. For 10 long years, every spell she learned was driven by a thirst for blood. She vows to personally execute the monster who butchered her family. Stunned by her intensity, Agari asks for the name of this demon. Wimberg, the Heavenly King of the Wind. He is not some low-level grunt. He is one of the 4 legendary generals leading the Demon King's elite forces. Agari realizes she is using him to track down her target. While he does not have a personal grudge against the demons yet, Mare admits she still does not understand why her master let her tag along with him in the first place. With no idea what her master is planning, she decides she will just follow Agari's lead for now. Agari nods silently, letting her know he understands her position. Suddenly, his master's final request to watch over Mare flashes in his mind. In that moment, everything finally clicks for Agari. Her master knew that if she went out alone, she would throw her life away on a suicide mission. Feeling the heavy mood, Mare apologizes for getting so intense, assuring him she won't drag him into her personal blood feud. Realizing she is stubborn about doing this solo, Agari tells her to drop the heavy talk and get some rest before their long journey tomorrow. Mare quietly agrees. After summoning some spirits to watch over their camp, Mare quickly drifts off to sleep. But Agari stays awake, his mind racing as he processes the threat of the 4 heavenly kings. Glancing at the sleeping girl, he steps out into the cool night air. His last opponent was already a high-ranking demon, but this new target is on a whole different level of power. Realizing they need to grow much stronger before facing such monsters, Agari forces himself to clear his mind. Meanwhile, inside a heavily fortified command room, high-ranking military officials gather for an emergency meeting. With the powerful hero candidates on their side, they believe it is time to strike. As they argue about where to launch their first assault, Amelia suggests reclaiming Fort Eris. It was once their proud stronghold, but it now acts as the demon frontline. Reclaiming it would be a massive victory, and Henrich adds that crushing them there will force a full enemy retreat. Still, Henrich warns that a sudden offensive is incredibly reckless after months of pure defense. The other generals immediately shut him down, demanding to know if he is really too cowardly to lead the legendary heroes. Wait, let us look at this closely. Amelia admits he has a point, but she believes a surprise attack will catch the cocky demons off guard. Then, she turns to Midashuji with a chilling question. Midashuji simply nods in agreement. Hand on his hilt, he is ready to kill on command. Shortly after, Henrich, Midashuji, and Hashimoto Mari depart from the war room. Henrich reveals the invasion begins tomorrow. Shocked by the sudden aggression, Mari asks if this suicidal plan can actually succeed, especially with everyone acting so overconfident. Midashuji chimes in, arguing that striking while the enemy is still rebuilding their forces is actually a solid strategy. He believes this is their best window of opportunity. But Hinrich remains deeply worried that putting blind faith in these unproven hero candidates will destroy them. Still, they are just soldiers, and defying direct orders from high command is not an option. A tense Mari asks if they truly have no other choice. Hinrich sighs, promising to give full support but reminding her that the heroes are their only hope. So they had better rest up tonight. You and I both know that gut feelings are usually right, and Midashuji feels an intense dread. But with no choice left, morning arrives, and the strike force is assembled outside the fort. As they prepare for the siege, Nagas questions the wisdom of launching an assault in broad daylight. Wouldn't sneaking in under the cover of night make way more sense? Hinrich explains that since demons possess perfect night vision, a night attack would actually be suicidal. Midashuji then steps up, making their primary objective clear: assassinate the monster commander. While the army distracts the horde, they must hunt down the commander, who is likely a powerful high-ranking demon. Midashuji promises the heroes that he will spearhead the charge. He warns them to buy time or fall back if they ever get split up. Right then, a breathless messenger arrives with the signal. The main force is engaged. Hinrich roars the order to attack. Charge! Without a second of hesitation, Midashuji and his strike team storm forward, breaching the fort's defenses as Amelia yells for them to slaughter every last monster in their path. But they have no idea that Stone Gaia, the ruthless demon general, is watching their entire advance. Moments later, Hinrich and the heroes breach the main keep, completely catching the defenders off guard. Before the monsters can swing, Midashuji blitzes them in a flash. Hinrich warns him to stay alert, suspecting the commander is close. Suddenly, waves of beasts swarm from the shadows, blocking their only exit. Panicked, the hero candidates turn to Midashuji for guidance. Hinrich commands them to rely on the backing of the 8th Night Order and press forward toward their target. Midashuji nods and yells to Nagas. With a confident smirk, she replies that she knows exactly what to do, ready to vaporize any beast blocking their path. Nagas unleashes a wave of destructive magic, clearing the path so the team can slaughter the remaining foes. They throw open the massive inner chamber doors and freeze. A lone, imposing figure waits inside. The group panics, demanding to know what they are looking at. Their target calmly steps forward, introducing himself as Stone Gaia, one of the Demon King's dreaded 4 heavenly kings. The names strike terror into the heroes as even Midashuji feels a cold sweat. The sheer, suffocating pressure radiating from Stone Gaia is completely off the charts. The demon draws his massive blade, inviting them to their doom. Midashuji yells for everyone to brace themselves. But inside, he is desperately fighting off his own terror. Knowing defeat means total annihilation for their army. They steel themselves for the clash, but the demon just sits down, touching the earth. A bizarre orange glyph ignites around him. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how they survive this. All right, you and I are diving right into the chaos as the hero candidates suddenly freeze. Earth erupts, summoning a horde of giant golems right before Raka and the team. Everyone is completely shocked. Stone Gaia immediately orders his clay monsters to slaughter the recruits. Midashuji screams for everyone to hold the line, and Narumi Yoshia jumps into action. Channeling his nature energy, he shreds the golems with razor-sharp leaves. Arashi Shunuki leaps into the fray, smashing monsters with explosive fire punches. He laughs arrogantly, shouting that no matter how many show up, these slow-moving stone blocks are absolute trash. But Stone Gaia unleashes his spell. Suddenly, those shattered clay bodies start putting themselves back together. Our heroes can only stare in disbelief, wondering how this is even possible. They keep shattering the monsters, only to watch them instantly heal. Just as a golem almost crushes Raka, Kakiren steps in, using her domination spell to hijack the monster's minds. But when an ally accidentally hits a controlled golem, it instantly retaliates. Seeing this, Hashimoto-me launches a furious telekinetic barrage, absolutely obliterating the targets. Pay attention here, because this is where Narumi Yoshia saves the day. Remembering classic manga tropes, he realizes they need to take out the summoner to stop this endless cycle. Taking down the summoner is always the winning play. Narumi Yoshia tells Midashuji that the vanguard will hold the line, so he needs to go straight for the boss. Midashuji gets the message. He and Arashi Shunuki charge headfirst towards Stone Gaia, preparing a massive combined strike. But the demon general just smirks, telling the young recruits they're seriously underestimating his power. He casts another spell, ripping giant boulders from the earth and launching them at Midashuji. The hero frantically tries to outrun them, but to his absolute horror, they track him like heat-seeking missiles. Unable to escape, Midashuji takes a direct hit. Everyone screams in panic, but he pushes through the smoke, waving it off. What Stone Gaia doesn't realize is that this was all a setup. You and I both love a good distraction, right? Mitoshuji was just bait so Arashi Shunuki could sneak up from behind. It works perfectly as Arashi lands a devastating flame-infused punch directly to the demon's back. The recruits hold their breath. Did he actually just defeat the demon general? But as the dust settles, their hope shatters. Arashi actually hit a solid wall of dense clay. Suddenly, the wall counterattacks, punching Arashi squarely in the gut and knocking him out cold. Stone Gaia laughs, mocking their pathetic strength. How will Midashuji and the others survive this? Can they overcome this monster, or is it game over? Meanwhile, far from this chaotic battle, our main guy, Kai, has finally arrived at the ruined city of Neutrat. To avoid detection, they have to take a highly covert path deep underground. With only a basic fire spell lighting their way, Mayor reluctantly trudges through the absolutely putrid sewers, pinching her nose the entire time. Kai doesn't even blink at the horrific stench. Mayor admits that navigating through a city's waste system is the last thing she ever would have expected. Kai tells her to stay patient since they are almost there. He warns her to stay alert because the demons have incredible night vision and the city streets are wide open. After a few more intense minutes navigating the foul tunnels, they finally climb out. Just like that, they successfully infiltrate Neutrat undetected, even if they both smell like a complete sewer disaster. But the very instant they step into the streets, Kai gets an incredibly bad vibe. His senses scream that someone is approaching, forcing them to squeeze into a nearby barrel like a classic cartoon. Seconds later, two demon guards stroll past, complaining about being assigned to protect the witch. The complaining guard might hate his duty, but he has real power. Still, that did not save him from getting absolutely blasted by the witch earlier. As the guards wander off, still whining, our duo climbs out. Kai wonders what makes this witch so dangerous, knowing she is a demon princess and the new ruler of Neutrat. Mayor identifies her as the Witch of Space, their ultimate target. Before their journey began, the sage advised Kai to seek her out in this very city. She is his only hope to grant his deepest wish. But actually reaching this princess requires a flawless plan to avoid an unwinnable battle. A professional gathers intelligence silently, which is exactly Kai's plan. Mayor promises to follow his lead. Meanwhile, this fallen city has transformed into a massive demon stronghold for launching future invasions. Slipping through the streets, they spot demon soldiers just relaxing and laughing together. Some are even drinking heavily in broad daylight, behaving exactly like humans in abandoned homes. While Kai studies their habits, Mayor finds it surprisingly boring. She wanted action, but Kai explains that any intelligent species with speech will naturally live like humans. But Neutrat is far from a peaceful haven. They soon spot the surviving human residents, now forced into brutal slavery to build the demons' new homes, and the conquerors are ruthless masters. They beat the slaves with heavy sticks on a whim. While this cruelty shocks Mayor, it is honestly the expected dark reality of war. Everyone knows demons enslave humans, but knowing a dark truth and actually witnessing it firsthand are two very different things. A random beating quickly becomes a cruel game for the bored guards. Mayor cannot stand to watch this. Just as Kai tries to hold her back, an unknown presence suddenly appears. A tiny, cute voice asks if they are humans. Standing before them is a young girl with crimson eyes, elegant clothes, and two dark horns, staring curiously. Kai completely panics. He did not sense her arrival at all. He immediately draws a throwing blade, but the young girl calmly tells him there is no need to fight. She claims she is not looking for trouble, but Kai is not buying it. He demands to know her identity and how she tracked them. It should be impossible to bypass his high-level sensory skills. Kai suspects powerful magic. She then casually reveals she's been watching them ever since they crossed her detection boundary. Mayor is absolutely certain they entered flawlessly, feeling zero trace of mana. But that is because a master of space magic operates on a completely different level. Kai connects the dots. Using his appraisal skill, he confirms her identity. Her name is Isabel Vdora, a terrifying master of space magic and demonic arts with godlike power. Isabel formally introduces herself as the fifth princess of the Vdora kingdom, leaving Kai thoroughly shaken. She warns them that refusing to cooperate means immediate arrest by her army. After all, a human and an elf sneaking into her territory do not look like ordinary tourists. She demands to know their true objective. Kai realizes that fighting is suicide, making peaceful negotiation their only real option. So, he begins explaining, warning her that his tale is quite long. The bored princess gets comfortable and tells him to go ahead. Kai spends the next few hours retelling his journey. Finally, Isabel understands his obsession with returning to his world. A sage told him space magic could open a path, which is exactly why he sought her out. And just like that, Isabel casually confirms it is entirely possible to send him home. He finally has a real path forward. Trust me, you and I are both relieved she is not like other demons, but can they actually make a deal? We will find out next time. All right. You and I are jumping back in as Isabel explains that for this to work, Kai needs his home world's exact coordinates. The solution was right there, but locating Earth's coordinates? A massive headache. Without those exact numbers among infinite worlds, sending Kai home was completely impossible. A heavy silence settles over them as they lock eyes, fully feeling the weight of the situation. Still, Kai asks if there is any way to track down those coordinates. Isabel admits there are simply too many parallel worlds, making a blind search impossible. Activating his Eye of Truth, Kai can see she is telling the absolute truth, but she also warns his mortal body has its limits. He arrived here with a divine shield that cannot be bypassed. Even Isabel's most powerful demonic arts are useless against God's protection. Essentially, God is trapping him in this world. He cannot return home until he fulfills his mission to slay the Demon King. Isabel, though, admits she has not thought that far ahead yet. Kai does not get an easy fix, but at least there is a backup plan if things go south. Still, his clearest path home remains slaying the Demon King and completing the prophecy. Kai keeps quiet, but Isabel reads his face and knows his decision. He is willing to try demonic magic to escape, even if the path ahead sounds brutally difficult. Suddenly, Mir cuts in, demanding to know why a demon princess is being so helpful. In response, Isabel tears open a rift in space, casually explaining that she is just looking out for her own faction. Kai and Mayer instantly tense up, bracing for an attack, but Isabel just gives them a blank look, wishes them luck, and steps casually into her dimensional rift. With a parting warning that escaping her city won't be easy, the rift snaps shut, leaving Isabel v. Dora gone. Mir, who had been holding her breath, finally exhales in relief. Kai realizes how terrifying the Demon King's bloodline truly is. If a fight had broken out, they would have been instantly slaughtered. Luckily, she did not view them as enemies. But watch closely, because right after that lucky escape, Kai worries a jinx is coming. Sure enough, the city alarms start blaring, forcing them to peer out the window. Demon soldiers are swarming the streets, hunting for the human spies who snuck in. They have been totally exposed, and that sneaky witch is definitely behind this. First, she wishes them luck. Then she immediately sicks her army on them. Talk about bizarre behavior. Kai just has to accept that he cannot comprehend the minds of the ultra-powerful. They leap across the rooftops of ruined structures, desperately trying to flee the massive city. Kai moves like lightning, and Mir keeps pace as they slip past thousands of guards. The inner city is crawling with highly alert demons. A quick appraisal reveals their high stats, making them formidable foes. They need to get out fast, but Kai suddenly freezes. Mayer slams on the brakes, nearly tumbling off the edge. Kai yanks her down, telling her to hide. Peering toward the square, he senses a powerful mana signature that forces him to investigate before moving. This strange energy feels even more overwhelming. That is when they spot him, a white-haired, porcelain-skinned demon with 3 horns standing right in the center of his army. He has 2 horns at his temples and a massive green one on his forehead. Mir recognizes this beast instantly. It is Wimberg. Kai certainly did not expect such a dangerous powerhouse to appear here. Glancing at Mir, he sees her practically shaking with pure, vengeful rage. Following him was definitely the right choice. Glaring down, she confirms that this commander is indeed Wimberg, the heavenly king of the winds and a direct vassal to the Demon King. From their hiding spot, Kai immediately uses appraisal to check him out. Wimberg boasts highly balanced stats, mastering both wind arts and lethal swordsmanship. On top of that, his Hawk's Eye ability pushes his combat power to a whole new level. Kai taps Mir's shoulder, warning her to calm down. Fighting this guy head-on is pure suicide, and luckily, you and I can see she manages to control her boiling rage. Facing the King of Winds means dealing with master-level tracking magic, so they have to be incredibly stealthy. Down on the city grounds, Wimberg's troops ask skeptically if there really are intruders. A massive hunting unit was deployed solely on Wimberg's gut feeling. They keep searching, knowing that if any intruders are spotted, crushing them will be a walk in the park. With humanity's trump card, the hero candidates, spotted on the front lines, this city is desperate for stability. One soldier asks Wimberg why he is staying behind instead of joining the main battle. Wimberg shrugs, saying defense suits him better. He prefers leaving the messy combat to other units, but suddenly, the wind he cast across the city whispers back, confirming that intruders are indeed here. For Wimberg, the wind never lies. These intruders are moving with extreme caution, but they cannot hide from his omnipresent wind search. Controlling the atmosphere basically gives him a map hack of the entire city. Wimberg orders his pursuit unit to prepare, eager for a hunt, while suspecting the witch let them slip by on purpose. She likely let them through, which he finds highly amusing. Meanwhile, Kai and Mayer continue sprinting for their lives, using the ruins of old residential areas as cover. Approaching a street corner, Kai signals Mayer to freeze. A demon patrol is nearby, scanning every shadow. They clearly know someone is lurking, but cannot pinpoint the exact location. Mayer also notices the wind acting strange, which is agitating the elemental spirits. That annoying wind search is actively scanning the area to hunt them down. She could easily disrupt the breeze with her magic, but doing so would instantly expose their position. Since they are still hidden, they must navigate carefully to avoid getting swarmed. Demon soldiers patrol the streets, scanning every nook and cranny. The duo sticks to lower ground to dodge the supernatural wind, but they are running out of time. But then, Mayer's failing stamina gives away their position. Kai quickly decides to use the surrounding structures, but there is a catch. Mayer has to act as bait. Without waiting for a response, Kai leaps onto the rooftops, leaving Mayer completely isolated. She complains from below, but Kai fires her up with the promise of sweet revenge, reminding her that tears will not save them. Seeing them split up, the demons lock onto the elf girl. She looks like an easy target, though a few guards are sent after Kai. Finally stopping, Mayer spins around to cast a spell. She summons the fire spirits, channeling the devastating power of a salamander. The demons freeze in shock, but before they can react, they are instantly roasted alive. Naturally, such a flashy spell draws a crowd. Mayer's location is blown, and demon squads close in. Kai uses this distraction to slip right behind the enemy battalion. From behind, he unleashes pure devastation, carving them up one by one. The first guard falls, but the others remain completely oblivious. With blindingly fast, precise strikes, Kai minces them on the street. The captain finally hears the sickening thuds behind him and whips around, only to see his entire squad slaughtered, lying in pools of fresh blood. That brief moment of absolute terror is the perfect opening for an assassin. The captain calls Kai a coward, but Kai answers by painting the street red, wiping out the rest. Meanwhile, Mayer is holding her own in the streets. She summons Undine, unleashing a raging torrent of water to overwhelm her foes. The massive flood slows down the advancing demon army. Even pushed back by the flood, the demons keep pressing forward. Mayer knows she is only buying time, and honestly, you and I are going to have to wait to see how they survive. Alright, you and I are diving into a hopeless battle where demons keep coming, until some mysterious slashes start dropping them from behind. This gave Mayer the perfect chance to push back the shrinking horde with her water magic. A single, swift throat slit ended each monster. But who was behind these kills? By the time one demon finally realized his squad was getting wiped out, a throwing blade was already buried deep inside his skull. It was like meeting the Shinigami, the god of death himself. Kai sliced through the cornered army with ease, leaving him drenched in demon blood. Wiping his blades, he thanked Mayer for being such a great distraction. Mayer appreciated the praise, but she couldn't forget how close she came to dying. Their stealthy teamwork was great, but Wimberg was rapidly losing his patience. The demon troops begged to call in reinforcements, but Wimberg shut them down. Sending more soldiers just meant more useless sacrifices. So, the Heavenly King Wimberg stepped up to handle things personally. Just as Mayer and Kai reached the exit, a violent blast of mana-infused wind slammed them, launching homing wind missiles straight at the duo. Mayer kept her cool and summoned Sylph, the wind spirit, to block the threat. The counterspell froze the missiles mid-air, while Kai braced himself for a brutal clash. The true powerhouse had finally arrived. Hovering above the ruined city, Wimberg bent the wind to his absolute will, admitting these rats were actually putting up a decent fight. Mayer stared up at the monster who destroyed her entire life, her eyes burning with pure hatred. This was her golden chance for revenge, and she had to take it. Fortunately, she had spent an entire decade preparing for this very moment. As Wimberg watched from above, the two warriors drew their weapons, ready for war. Now pay attention, because Kai knew regular mortals couldn't win a drawn-out battle against a heavenly king. They had to end this fast, and Mayer completely agreed. With absolute focus, she called upon the wind spirit, Sylph, once more. The energy reshaped into lethal, swirling wind blades, locking directly onto Wimberg. The Heavenly King just stared at the attack, deeply insulted. To think someone dared to challenge the Master of Wind with wind itself. Wimberg couldn't decide if they were incredibly brave or just incredibly foolish. With a mere thought, he canceled her attack, erasing the blades with a massive burst of air. Her magic couldn't even scratch his defensive wind barrier. As her blades vanished into nothingness, Kai spotted a sudden opening. Wimberg had blocked his own vision, but landing a hit wasn't going to be that simple. The moment Kai rushed the blind spot, solid wind missiles slammed into him, stopping his advance dead. From high above, Wimberg's arrogant laughter echoed across the battlefield. He mocked Kai for trying such a predictable move. As a seasoned warrior, Wimberg kept his wind search active at all times, making stealth completely useless against him. Any attempt to sneak up on him was spotted instantly, making it the perfect counter to Kai's lethal assassination style. Luckily, Kai had a reliable partner by his side. Mir was ready to back him up. Raising her staff, she began chanting her next spell. Wimberg prepared to counter, but suddenly paused when he saw what the elf girl was doing. His wind search relied on absolute control over the air. But if Mir disrupted that flow, his perfect tracking would completely fall apart. Wimberg felt a chill, realizing this elf knew the exact weaknesses of his combat style. Kai figured it out instantly. Mir had spent her entire life planning this revenge, mapping out every counter to bring this heavenly king down. The enemy's tracking completely disrupted. Kai leaped forward to close the distance. Wimberg sneered down at the human, finding these basic tactics incredibly arrogant. Kai managed to reach his target's height, but Wimberg simply floated even higher. He mocked Kai from above, boasting that the sky belonged entirely to him, making this battle seem almost impossible. His flight power was just like Narumi's. Before Kai could think, Mir screamed at him to jump. Trusting her completely, he leaped high into the air. Let's see what happens next. A massive wind boost launches Kai right into the sky, totally shocking Wimberg. Activating foresight and weak point detection, our boy aims for a clean, one-shot kill. In a flash, he saw 1 second into the future, Wimberg dodging to the side, exposing a fatal weakness right on his throat. But a millisecond later, that perfect path to victory vanished. Kai had never faced anything like this before. One moment he had the kill shot, and the next, it was gone. Wimberg wasn't just standing there. He completely shifted his stance and drew a thin, glowing green sword pulsing with intense wind energy. He was furious that a mere human had forced him to draw his weapon. Now, Kai was trapped mid-air with a demon lord who wanted nothing but his head. A relentless storm of sword strikes followed, and without his foresight, those slashes would have shredded him instantly. Even with his skills, the speed was overwhelming. Turns out Wimberg was actually Hector's sword master, the very same demon Kai defeated back in the mountains. But while Wimberg focused on overpowering Kai, he completely ignored Mir, a mistake that almost cost him dearly. A massive boulder came crashing down, aiming straight for his head. Kai used that distraction to retreat and regroup. Despite the insane gap in power, the duo remained absolutely determined to slay this heavenly king today. Even Wimberg's wind magic couldn't easily stop that giant rock. Mir clearly had plenty of high-level tricks left in her arsenal. Kai could feel the pure rage burning inside her, and Wimberg felt it too. The demon quickly pieced together that these two were the ones who killed Hector. Mir confirmed it, coldly asking how it felt to lose someone precious. The demon laughed like a maniac, suddenly recognizing her as the lone survivor of his past village raid. She had trained her magic for 10 long years to avenge that day. Wimberg began to mock her, describing his brutal massacre in sickening, vivid detail. She never imagined this monster would actually remember her home. But the demon loved hearing the elves scream, enjoying how their selfless nature made them beg for the lives of others while they wept in total despair. Their broken faces brought him sick thrill. Overcome with fury, the young elf lost control and charged straight ahead. She would have run straight into her death if Kai hadn't held her back, warning her not to fall for obvious bait. He needed her magic, so she had to stay completely focused. Mir snapped out of it, remembering they were in this together. Kai needed more time to analyze the threat, and knowing his win-at-all-costs attitude, it was only a matter of time. Wimberg was an absolute monster, dominating both close-range swordplay and long-distance wind magic. He realized this duo was incredibly troublesome to deal with. A mere human was somehow holding his own in a direct clash. The only explanation was that Kai had to be a hero candidate, which Kai didn't bother to deny. The Heavenly King kept close tabs on the enemy nation's elite, but Kai was a complete ghost to him. Realizing the danger of an unknown variable, Wimberg decided to play it safe. And that's where we leave it for now, with Wimberg playing it safe while Kai's precious foresight has only 3 minutes left. What a cliffhanger. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a do-or-die battle. If they cannot end this fast, they are finished, but Mir suddenly has a crazy plan. Kai stays sharp, listening closely as Mir whispers her strategy. He agrees, but throws in a cheeky warning, telling her not to drag him down. Pretty ironic, considering this whole plan is actually her idea anyway. Wimberg just watches them plot, amused and completely sure he has already won. But suddenly, Kai gets a massive burst of energy, locking onto the demon like a hungry predator. Wimberg just grins, arrogantly welcoming Kai with open arms. Step 1 of their plan is simple: use wind magic to launch Kai into the sky. While he flies up, Mir stays on the ground to back him. She calls on Norm, the Earth Spirit, summoning a cluster of massive boulders. Mir aims her spell right at the demon, launching the heavy rocks straight into the sky. But Wimberg is a wind master. He effortlessly blows the incoming attack away, sending those massive boulders soaring high into the sky, nowhere near him. Yet that tiny distraction is exactly the opening Kai needs. Too bad the demon is lightning fast. This first attempt might have failed, but Mir is not giving up just yet. She quickly grabs control of the blown-away boulders. They circle right back, aiming to strike Wimberg from behind. The demon could easily dodge or block, so this should be a piece of cake for him. But Mir already knew he would try to block. She calls on Syl again, using her own wind magic to completely mess up the demon's defenses. Pay attention here, the boulders smash right through the broken wind wall. This attack was never meant to kill him, only to leave his defenses completely wide open. Using his foresight and weak point detection, Kai instantly strikes. Wimberg barely raises his sword to block, but Kai's incredible combat skills are not something you want to underestimate. In one smooth motion, blood splatters across Neutral City. Wimberg completely miscalculated. Kai was never aiming for his heart. Instead, Kai slices right through Wimberg's sword hand. With that perfect move, Kai steals the demon's own blade, immediately pulling back and escaping the monster's reach. Shocked by his lost sword, Wimberg misses the next attack. Boulders slam into him from all sides with massive force, but the Heavenly King stands there completely untouched. They broke his guard, but this demon is just too tough to fall. Mir is shocked, thinking her amazing combo would finally bring her revenge. Kai stays focused on ending this battle fast. He remembers Mir's whisper wind magic is incredibly weak against Earth. She can also disrupt Wimberg's powers with her own. To beat a monster like this, they need a solid plan. So Kai tweaks it, focusing entirely on creating openings for him to strike. At least they took Wimberg's weapon. Mir is still confused, though the demon is famous for top-tier magic, so losing a physical sword shouldn't really bother him at all. Wimberg knows this too, and Kai does not even look like a swordsman. The demon licks his wound, healing it instantly. He fires more wind missiles, forcing the assassin to block with the stolen sword. Kai uses this moment to close the distance, swinging the glowing blade. To Wimberg's absolute shock, he suddenly cannot keep up. Every swing pushes him further back. The demon is a legendary swordsman, so being overpowered like this is pure madness. You and I can see his panic. Mir spots her chance and unleashes a quick wind spell, hitting Wimberg's legs and instantly knocking the massive demon off balance. As the demon falls, Kai follows him down. Wimberg looks into the boy's crimson eyes, seeing his own sword raised high. Refusing to lose, he channels all his power into his middle horn. The horn swells, gathering massive wind energy at its tip to form a deadly blade. But Wimberg is just a second too slow. Thanks to perfect teamwork, the fight ends in a flash. The Heavenly King's head flies off, landing next to his body as Kai makes a flawless landing nearby. The moment he lands, Kai runs out of mana and loses his foresight. Amazingly, the detached head is still barely alive. Still unable to believe his defeat, he asks how Kai could move like that. Kai explains he has a copycat ability. He literally copied Wimberg's entire master-level sword style just by watching him fight. Wimberg realizes Kai must be blessed by the god of creation, making him humanity's ultimate trump card. But Kai decides to twist the knife even deeper. He reveals he stole Copycat after killing his disciple, Hector. With his final breath, Wimberg calls his student an idiot for letting such a threat live and grow. Kai sits in the rubble, planning their next move. He now knows the terrifying strength of a Heavenly King, and there are 3 more out there, plus a far more powerful Demon King. Plus, that king has powerful allies like Isabel. Kai sighs, admitting he stands absolutely zero chance against the final boss right now. He looks up to see Mir approaching the corpse with a blank face. She asks if it is done, and he nods, asking how it feels to finally get her long-awaited revenge. Mir confesses she feels nothing. She risked her entire life for this moment, yet feels no satisfaction, only a slight sense of relief, like a weight lifted. Wimberg is dead, but her family and village will never return. Still, she feels free. Kai admits he is glad she was there, since they never would have won without her. Mir feels the same. She trained for 10 years for this, but knows she could not do it alone. She is truly grateful for his incredible strength. He helped her fulfill her life goal, even if it was brutal. For Kai, it was just a matter of timing. Mir is used to his incredibly chill attitude, but she knows staying with him is the best choice. If she stayed with her master, she would have rushed in blindly and died. She realizes the wise sage probably knew that all along. With her mission complete, Kai asks what she will do next. She is not sure. Seeing her lost, Kai suggests she take her time, since elves live for ages anyway. Mir corrects him she is only a half-elf, so her life is shorter. For now, she just wants to stay by his side. He asks if she is sure, reminding her his goal is to hunt the Demon King. She is totally on board, hoping to prevent others from suffering the way she did. She is ready to stick with him, even if he tells her to get lost. This time, Kai does not push her away, simply laying out their next move. They need to gather clues before demon reinforcements arrive. Mir practically glows, happy he is letting her tag along. Together, they quietly slip out of Neutral City after defeating a heavenly king. High above, a spatial rift cracks open, revealing the Princess Isabel. Looking bored, the witch watches the duo disappear into the distant shadows. Isabel admits they exceeded expectations. She thought they would just escape, but they actually managed to kill a king. For once, her cold face breaks into a genuine smile. Trust me, with these two on the loose, things are about to get wild. The duo heads for the wilderness, dodging patrols. Alright, you and I are diving right back in as the duo makes it to Elbana's mountain home. After updating the sage, she is thrilled they are safe, but hearing they crushed a heavenly demon so fast completely blows her mind. When Mir tries to speak up, the sage gently cuts her off. Elbana already knows what her student wants to say. Sensing Mir's strong desire to keep following Kai, she gives them her full blessing. The sage wishes her well, teasing that maybe she will become more than just a companion. With that settled, Elbana asks Kai if he has heard any news about the front lines. Intrigued, he presses for details. It turns out Kai's classmates, those hyped-up hero candidates, got absolutely obliterated. Hearing Meidu and the team lost, Kai wonders who could possibly defeat them. Elbana explains they face Stone Gaia, a top demon executive and the Heavenly King of Earth. Since he shares the same title as Vimberg, this monster has to be insanely powerful as well. Kai asks the most critical question: did anyone die? Luckily, everyone made it out alive. Still, after taking such a brutal beating, their team morale is at rock bottom right now. For now, Kai decides to sit back and watch. With his ultimate goal of slaying the Demon King, he figures he can use his classmates to slowly wear down the enemy army. Maybe he can even use the whole class to target the remaining Heavenly Kings. Mir then asks if these hero candidates match Kai's power. Honestly, our main character is not quite sure. They have raw power, but without proper skill. That strength is completely useless. Meanwhile, back at Fort Truss, the hero candidates settle in for the night, though the medical ward is absolutely packed with wounded. Injured soldiers line the halls after their failed raid. Even the powerful hero candidates are deeply scarred. Meidu is covered in wounds, and Hano is working tirelessly to heal his broken body. He smiles weakly, urging her not to overdo it since her healing magic is limited. Hano knows she is pushing her limits, but it is the only way she feels useful. So, Meidu sits quietly, letting the warm light mend his flesh. Look closely here. Just hours ago, their raid on Stone Gaia collapsed. Without Henrik intervening, they would have been slaughtered on the spot. Meidu sees his broken team. Their spirits are crushed just as badly as their bodies. Rina stares blankly at the floor, while Arashi hides his face, consumed by shame for failing to do more. Meidu clenches his fist in pure agony. He blames their crushing defeat entirely on himself. In his mind, his poor leadership ruined everything. If only he had slain the Heavenly King alone, his friends wouldn't be suffering. Over at Fort Arlas, the demon forces remain heavily fortified. The massive stronghold looks completely impossible to breach. High up on a watchtower, their commander, Stone Gaia, relaxes and enjoys the breeze. Meanwhile, Kai secretly watches the fort from afar, keeping hidden. His enhanced vision is honestly on a whole different level. He easily tracks targets from hundreds of feet away. Even Mir, with her deep magic background, is stunned by his superhuman sight. But hey, Kai can't really help it. Every single time his appraisal skill levels up, it unlocks insane new abilities. Honestly, the elf girl is starting to get pretty suspicious about how absurdly convenient his powers actually are. Safe at their camp, Kai finally analyzes Stone Gaia's terrifying stats. The Heavenly King is an absolute beast at earth magic, essentially a giant defensive tank who also happens to wield a deadly sword. With his appraisal pushed to level 4, Kai gets a highly detailed breakdown of the enemy's abilities. He can see every single one of Stone Gaia's skills now, which is a massive advantage. However, what he really wants to test is weak point detection. He targets the Heavenly Demon, but gets absolutely nothing. Turns out, Kai isn't strong enough to spot openings from this distance yet. Man, if every enemy had an obvious weak spot, life would be so much easier. Still, Kai now has a super deep scouting report on Stone Gaia, mapping out all his unique abilities. Plus, with Mir's elemental knowledge, she can summon high-level water spirits. That is crucial because earth magic is naturally weak to water, just like a classic Pokemon matchup. But remember, type advantages only go so far. Victory always depends on raw skill. Stone Gaia knows countless earth spells, but he has likely only mastered a select few. Pinpointing his specialty will let Mir exploit his blind spots. Since they are already in the region, scouting out another heavenly demon's lair seems like the perfect move. You and I both know how devastating a bad loss can be. And back at Fort Truss, Meidu is taking it the hardest. He keeps wondering if Kai could have saved them. But Meidu refuses to lean on anyone else. To him, relying on others is just a coward's escape from hard work. But right as he prepares to scream his frustrations, his classmates arrive. They know exactly how brutally hard Meidu is on himself. Rina, in particular, knows their stubborn class rep always tries to shoulder every heavy burden all by himself. Narumi quickly chimes in, telling Meidu to wipe that miserable look off his face. It is not game over yet. One by one, his classmates step up, promising he does not have to fight alone. He asks if they still trust him to lead. But honestly, it is a pretty silly question. They all agree they couldn't ask for a better leader, and Narumi speaks for everyone. Meidu really needs to start trusting his friends to back him up. Seeing how much his squad cares, a genuine smile finally returns to his face after a long time. Narumi points out that everyone has gotten way stronger, so Meidu can stop trying to carry the team solo. Just as they finish this heartwarming talk, their reunion gets even better when another group arrives. Arashi and his injured crew drag themselves out of their hospital beds just to show their determination. The delinquent leader immediately mocks Meidu for looking so incredibly pathetic. Instead of moping, they should be planning round 2 against that rocky bastard. Honestly, everyone is totally shocked that Arashi actually bothered to show up and unite with the class. Clicking his tongue, he is visibly annoyed they couldn't finish the job the first time, but now he is actually ready to follow Meidu's orders to ensure they crush Stone Gaia. The rest of the class is ecstatic to see Arashi finally joining their ranks. With a brand new fire lit in his soul, Meidu declares they are going for a rematch against the monster. Arashi definitely prefers this highly motivated version of Meidu, but while the group is laughing and hyping themselves up, Kaki stands off to the side, quietly watching from a distance. Though she is happy to see her classmates united, she still worries since they have no real strategy to defeat Stone Gaia. However, those anxieties immediately melt away when she hears Kai call her name. Looking around, she spots Kai casually leaning against the staircase. He gestures for her to keep quiet, not wanting to draw any attention. Kaki quickly covers her mouth to muffle a squeal of excitement. Kai is here to gather intelligence on the battle against the Heavenly King of Earth. He presses Kaki for every single detail regarding the specific demonic arts Stone Gaia unleashed during the fight. Once Kaki finishes her detailed explanation, Kai understands Stone Gaia's combat style, specifically his ability to manipulate massive golems. Kai is certain the demon's tactics rely heavily on golem arts, exactly as Mir predicted. However, the moment Kai mentions another woman's name, Kaki's jealousy instantly flares up. Kai brushes it off and thanks her for the intel. Kaki nervously asks if he plans to join the fight, but seeing the class's fierce determination, Kai decides not to disrupt their building momentum. So, as you and I might have guessed, Kai chooses to stick to the shadows, quietly handling the heaviest threats from behind the scenes. A few days after the initial human raid, Fort Arles enjoys a brief moment of peace. Meanwhile, just on the outskirts, the summoned hero candidates secretly gather, preparing for their second massive assault. Alright, you and I are diving into a massive return as Yumi rejoins her old squad after quitting from trauma. Rina is overjoyed, and just like that, Yumi officially joins the Fort Arles expedition. Her classmates wonder why she suddenly wants back in the fight. Yumi simply explains that she heard everyone was struggling and wanted to do her part to help. They tease her, calling her their savior, but deep down, Yumi is actually harboring some serious doubts about this entire mission. Just 5 days ago, she was working brutal shifts as an exhausted inn waitress, totally drained day in and day out. But when she walked into her room, Kai was just standing there, greeting her as if invading a girl's private space was completely normal. Drained from work, Yumi actually greets him back before realizing a dangerous, edgy teen is in her bedroom. Cue the instant panic. Once she finally cools down, she demands to know why he is here. Kai explains that Meidu and the rest of their class are desperately struggling on the front lines. He tells her they need her water manipulation skill, a divine blessing to survive. And yes, that is his actual excuse for sneaking into her bedroom in the middle of the night. Even though she quit the party, Kai saw her true potential. He knew she had the strength of a real fighter, believing she secretly wanted to stand by her friends again. Leonora was the one who terrified her, but that is history now. Kai's bullets put an end to that witch, meaning Yumi has absolutely no reason to hide anymore. Time had healed her emotional wounds, and honestly, she was a terrible waitress anyway, constantly smashing plates. Deep down, she was dying to help Nages and the others. Looking into his eyes, she realized denying it was useless. She was genuinely shocked that a classmate had actually been paying this much attention to her. Now pay attention here, Kai coldly claims he is just recruiting a useful pawn. Yumi ignores that part, asking how a wanted criminal like him can even join them. As a wanted man, joining the Holy Kingdom's army is impossible, but operating from the shadows, he does not need permission. Just like that, Kai places another piece on his board. Yumi is fully fired up, ready to prove her strength. Meanwhile, Kaki, silent as always, quietly listens to the entire plan play out. She already knew Kai's plan, but Kaki still wonders if Yumi's water magic can actually breach the defenses. Since Kai is not fighting, the class must devise their own battle strategy. His sole piece of advice? Adapt to the battlefield. Before vanishing, Kai leaves a message for Midu, challenging him to show off how much stronger everyone has gotten. Near the borders of Fort Arles, Midu checks in with Kaki to finalize their tactics. Another defeat is out of the question, so the squad carefully refines their strategy. Watching from the sidelines, Mare asks if these kids can actually pull it off, especially since she knows Kai has a far superior plan. But he is letting them lead because hand-holding ruins growth. With the Demon King as their ultimate target, his classmates have to step up. They have raw talent, but they are terrible at using it. For this war, Kai will only drop occasional hints. Ultimately, battle requires making your own decisions. Meanwhile, the demon forces at Fort Arles are locked and loaded. Standing outside the main gates are thousands of human soldiers flying the Holy Kingdom's banner. Captain Amelia takes command for this second assault. On her order, the kingdom's troops charge the demon base. The defenders just laugh, thinking these humans learned nothing from their last defeat. Amelia rallies her forces to clear a path so the hero candidates can do their job. As for the demons, their orders are brutally simple. You and I both know how chaotic war gets, but the hero squad pushes through the madness. Maiju can literally feel their ultimate enemy waiting in the tower. The Heavenly King, Stone Gaia, isn't one to hide. He is right there, flashing his golden grin and taunting them from above. It feels like an invitation, and the demon does not want to be disappointed twice. After tearing through endless foot soldiers, the hero candidates blast the gate wide open. Arashi's explosive skill is absolutely perfect for forced entry. Inside, they come face to face with the massive stone golems. Midu boldly declares that their real operation begins right now. Hidden from the chaos below, two figures watch the battle from a crack in the ceiling. Kai and Mare are keeping watch, ready to see how much these kids have grown. The hero candidates quickly form up with Midu and Arashi leading the charge. Standing in their way are those heavily armored stone golems. Midu raises his glowing blade, kicking off their rematch against Stone Gaia. Rina worries if this is too much for Yumi, but the returning fighter steals her resolve. Mid-charge, she unleashes her divine power, flooding the battlefield with tons of water. The golems are caught off guard as Stone Gaia watches a massive wave sweep his army. With the field flooded, Arashi dives in fists first. His explosive punches are absolutely devastating against those slow, massive targets. Maidu's blade might not be ideal here, but his sheer strength, technique, and talent make up for it. The other hero candidates step up too, showing off their highly trained blessings. They might seem like mere background characters, but these guys know exactly how to shatter golems. And that is all that matters right now. After that first clash, every single golem is soaked in water. Stone Gaia tries to reconstruct them with magical energy, but the wet clay makes rebuilding completely impossible. The strategy is working perfectly. Stone Gaia is not sweating it yet, but he is incredibly annoyed they brought a water user to a rock fight. So, he grabs his weapons and summons his backup puppet army. Up on the ceiling, Kai and Mare watch closely. Turns out, Mare actually drafted this genius plan. Mare figured out that the golem's rock joints weaken when wet, ruining their movement. Seeing the tide turn, Midu rallies his classmates to hit even harder. With momentum on her side, Yumi confidently leads the next charge. She summons a massive wave that sweeps the remaining golems away, letting Narumi and the others close the distance. Up close, the giant golems tower over them, but the team does not flinch. They have the winning formula. Even Stone Gaia is smiling. He praises their strategy to clear the vanguard first. Slamming his hands down, massive magic circles erupt all around him. The Heavenly King unleashes sharp boulders, revealing his golems were just bait to weed out the weak. Now, he is showing them the true power of the earth. Massive boulders fly at the frozen hero candidates, but Hashimoto reacts instantly. Using her telekinesis, she halts the deadly stones mid-air, saving her team. Stone Gaia is stunned to lose control of his own magic. Right then, Kaki steps in, using her domination skill to completely lock down the Demon King. Talk about a clutch move. With Stone Gaia frozen, Arashi charges in for the kill, but a sudden mud wall blocks him. Trust me, we are in for a wild ride next time. All right, you and I are dropping right into an epic showdown. The mud absorbs Arashi's blast, shielding the boss. As the smoke clears, Stone Gaia smiles smugly, bragging that such weak power won't ever break his defenses. Suddenly, Midu uses instant movement to blink right beside Stongwa, setting up a lethal sneak attack as his sword begins to glow brightly. The glowing blade lights up the room, but Stongwa quickly draws his own sword and easily blocks the strike, even while still struggling under Kaki's mental control. That's when Hashimoto jumps back in, hurling those telekinetic boulders straight at Stone Gaia. Narumi seizes his moment too, combining his wind magic to summon multiple wind lances, a massive upgrade from his single lance before. Now, Stone Gaia is trapped. He's facing a massive explosion from the front, a deadly swordsman on his flank, and projectiles raining down from every single direction. Yet, the demon remains insanely confident. He conjures a massive stone barrier to blast back the melee fighters and create space. But Yumi refuses to let this perfect chance slip away. They are just too close to victory. She unleashes a pressurized torrent of water packed with enough crushing energy to completely shatter his stone defense. Just like that, his ultimate defense melts into a wet pile of mud. Turns out, his stone armor softens up when wet, though my own magic works totally differently. With a wide-open shot at the boss, Midu prepares his next strike. Having Arashi right beside him guarantees maximum damage. Their combined force of devastating explosions and slashing blades hits Stone Gaia head-on, nearly sending him straight to the Shadow Realm. But this old demon is legendary for his defense for a reason. Even with coordinated strikes, hammering him from all sides, he is confident he can survive. With his armor crumbling, Gaia has no choice but to go all out. The Heavenly King decides to channel his remaining defensive power into one massive, final attack. Now watch closely here because just as Gaia's power shakes the earth, Kai spots a critical opening. He hurls a dagger straight at the demon's forehead, piercing right through his skull. And just like that, another Heavenly King is down. Talk about a classic kill steal. Stone Gaia struggles to stand, but his body finally gives out. His massive body crashes right in front of the stunned students. Seeing the giant boss finally defeated, the entire class erupts into wild cheers, chanting the names of Midu and Arashi. Everyone assumes these two heavy hitters secured the win, but they know better. This wasn't their doing at all. They both realize someone else intervened at the very last second. Arashi inspects the demon's corpse and pulls out a bloody throwing knife, immediately recognizing the owner. This realization seriously annoys him, while Midu looks up and spots a tiny crack in the ceiling where the blade came from. Now he's absolutely certain Kai dealt the finishing blow. Arashi still can't stand that sneaky guy, just as Narumi walks over to the supposed MVPs with a massive grin. Midu offers an awkward smile and nods, knowing deep down he isn't the real hero today. Their original strategy, relying entirely on Yumi's water magic, seemed perfect on paper. But standing so close to Stone Gaia, Midu felt the demon release a terrifying wave of mana. He realized their little plan was like child's play against that power, which is why Kai had to intervene. Hashimoto notices Midu's gloomy expression and tells him to stop worrying and join the celebration. Midu wants to explain what actually happened, but she doesn't give him a chance. At the end of the day, one of the four Heavenly Kings has fallen, which is an incredible achievement. Before he knows it, Midu is swept up by his cheering classmates. I know what you're thinking, a win is a win. Seeing their happy faces makes Midu appreciate the victory, but the proud Arashi just can't bring himself to celebrate unearned credit. His friends, completely clueless, keep cheering for their star player. Arashi quickly tells them to shut up, making it clear he wasn't the one who took the demon down. One of his friends who was close by actually saw the dagger fly, but he just shrugged it off as a stolen kill. Either way, the team worked together to corner a Heavenly King. Midu grabs Stongua's severed head and climbs up the watchtower, holding it high for everyone to see while shouting that the Heavenly King of Earth is dead. He commands the remaining demons to surrender in the name of their fallen leader. The monsters are instantly paralyzed with shock, dropping their weapons the moment they see the head. Captain Amelia seizes the moment, letting out a booming victory cry that instantly charges up every human soldier. Heinrich looks completely exhausted, but he's just relieved the hero candidates pulled it off. With that, the humans successfully reclaim Fort Arles, a critical strategic stronghold. Meanwhile, Kai and Mir are still observing everything from the shadows. Mir wonders how the humans pulled off a win when both armies were evenly matched. Kai explains that the demon forces rely entirely on their powerful commanders, so once the boss falls, their coordination collapses. He points out this is exactly what happened with Vimberg. Once that commander was defeated, not a single demon even bothered to chase after them. Kai views this reliance on leaders as the demon army's greatest weakness. Mir then asks if he should have really landed the final hit, since his goal was to train his classmates from the sidelines. But honestly, Kai had no choice. Stangua's transformation unleashed such terrifying, murderous intent that if Kai hadn't stepped in, his entire class would have been wiped out instantly. Besides, he was just doing his job as an assassin. He hopes Midu and the others understand. Even if he hides it behind a cold face, he's incredibly protective of his friends. Quickly changing the subject, Kai tells Mir she can just call him by his name. The elf girl is completely caught off guard, blushing intensely and stumbling over her words before quietly asking if she can really call him Kai. He assures her that level of familiarity is totally fine. Kai turns to look at her bright red face, and though she tries her absolute best to play it cool, she fails completely. With this, Kai has defeated 2 of the 4 heavenly kings, cutting the enemy's top command in half. But let's not forget, the Demon King also has direct descendants who are just as strong. They are easily as strong as Isabel, meaning the journey to slay the Demon King is going to be incredibly long. Now, let's cut to a completely different location, where a beastskin maiden is being hunted. She is badly injured, covered in deep scratches and cuts, yet her fierce, defiant spirit continues to shine through. The chasing demons admire her spirit, but her body is clearly reaching its limit. Meanwhile, a young demon commander shares major news with his men. They've captured the princess, meaning the Beastmen Federation is officially done for. Fast forward 1 week after the fall of the Heavenly King of Earth. Fort Arles is now a secure human stronghold, and the entire kingdom is buzzing with celebration. The army's victory has boosted everyone's morale, making the hero candidates incredibly famous overnight. Revered as humanity's greatest hope, the king personally thanks Midu, their class leader, for his incredible deeds at Fort Arles. Midu receives a massive reward, officially being named a lord and a knight. But the moment he escapes the stuffy throne room, all he wants is to relax and drink tea with his friends. Hashimoto finds it hilarious that their courageous leader was so terrified, while Emilia teases him too. Heinrich, however, completely understands. Midu is definitely no expert when it comes to high society etiquette. Luckily, they gave him a crash course in noble manners right before the ceremony, helping his royal audience go as smoothly as possible. Midu just didn't want to disrespect the king and make things hard for his class, but as a new official knight, he faces huge responsibilities. Trust me, you'll want to see how he handles this next. Alright, you and I are about to see how Heinrich, the ultimate coach, used his noble secrets while the church held all the real power. In fact, Midu's new knighthood was ordered directly by the Pope himself. Officially, he was now the captain of the 11th Knight Corps, a squad destined to be called the Heroes' Corps. It was packed with hero candidates, basically the strongest raid force in the kingdom. But Midu wondered, was this title actually real, or was he just becoming another puppet for the church? Heinrich explained that teaching him about state power would take forever. But either way, Midu was now equal to the other captains, and that came with some serious responsibility. Out on the edge of the fort, Meyer and Kai met with Kaki for an update on local gangs. She mentioned that Midu actually pushed for this position of authority himself. Meyer figured it was just a well-earned promotion. In reality, the kingdom wanted to turn Midu into a symbol, showing everyone that they totally controlled all the hero candidates. Bottom line, this was bad news. Luckily, Kai stayed hyper-focused on his main goal, getting home. He felt the kingdom and Leonora were actually cut from the exact same cloth. Both saw hero candidates as disposable pawns. Before they parted, Kenzaki finally asked about the elf girl, and Kai casually introduced Mir. Kaki took one look and instantly felt her best girl title was in serious danger. Mir quickly clarified that they were just travel buddies. But when asked the same, Kaki totally fumbled her words. She tried calling herself Kai's friend, but Kai immediately shut that down. Friend was wrong, collaborator fit much better. Kaki actually preferred that title. In their old world, they barely spoke. Anyway, Kai knew everyone was targeting the Demon King, so he planned to pull strings from the shadows again. Kaki's new job was serving as his messenger. Before Kai could leave for his next destination, she begged him to let her tag along. Kai looked her over and flatly refused, but secretly, he needed her to watch the others. Many candidates hated his plans, making Kenzaki's reliability absolutely crucial. Kenzaki, playing the classic tsundere, accepted her role. She was also the only one who knew their class leader actually respected Kai immensely. Now, pay attention, because Kai had a massive master plan behind everything. He knew this war was no one-man show, and Medu's growth was the absolute key to it. Sure, he and Mir beat Wimberg alone, but that fight was way too close. Kenzuki absolutely lost it when Kai casually mentioned killing another Heavenly Demon King. Mir's cheerful explanation of how they destroyed the Heavenly King of Wind did absolutely nothing to make Kaki feel any better. The other heroes barely managed to handle Stone Gaia, yet Kai did it with just 2 people. Sensing something incredibly special about Mir, Kaki couldn't help but compare herself. She knew her own contribution against Stone Gaia was barely a drop in the bucket. Kai then revealed that enemies far stronger than the 4 Heavenly Kings existed, making a direct fight impossible. Kaki's mission was to monitor their classmates and the kingdom. Kai promised to stay in touch, and she accepted, deeply wanting to prove her worth to him. Before leaving, Kai shared his plan to defeat the Demon King his own way. Mir ran off beside him, waving cheerfully, leaving Kaki feeling a sudden, burning spark inside. She couldn't remain a side character, she had to grow stronger. Immediately after Stone Gaia's defeat, the Holy Kingdom launched a massive invasion deep into demonic territory. The new Heroes Corps sent army morale through the roof. Pushing with unstoppable force, they captured territory after territory, liberating New City and conquering key forts near Urugano Mountain. This victory only happened because 2 Heavenly Kings died in rapid succession. Without Wimberg, their top logistics manager, the entire demon army simply collapsed. Here is where you and I must watch closely. The kingdom had no idea Kai was pulling the strings before returning for their massive celebration. Narumi partied hard, drinking as much as he wanted. At this victory banquet, 15-year-olds are considered adults and can drink freely. Hashimoto lectured Narumi about drinking, then immediately swiped the alcohol for herself. Medu chuckled, but staying in his night gear showed he was far from relaxed. Rina noticed his stress and told him to chill. Even with the demon army's command structure shattered, Medu couldn't shake his doubts. This victory felt far too easy. He worried it was a trap. Rina called him overly cautious, dismissing the demon army as complete idiots. But Medu knew they only won because Kai helped from the shadows. Rina refused to believe that the gloomy Kai could pull off something so massive. Annoyed by this, Kaki immediately stepped in to defend him. She explained that while they fought up front, Kai was busy destroying the enemy's rear. Their victory only happened because Kai eliminated another Heavenly King, wrecking the enemy defenses. While others doubted, Medu knew she spoke the truth. Narumi felt uneasy, realizing they had such a monstrously powerful ally lurking in the dark. Rina remained highly skeptical, refusing to believe Kai could beat such strong enemies. Arashi got dragged in, annoyed they were interrupting his chicken feast. Remembering the blade that finished Stone Gaia, he stayed silent and kept eating. Hashimoto argued that even if it was true, they still couldn't forgive Kai. Medu slipped away from the pointless debate to ask Kaki for Kai's location. She didn't know, but she knew he was charting his own path to execute the Demon King. Meanwhile, deep within the dark forests of the Western Territory, Kai found himself surrounded by hostile orcs. Calmly, he waited for the brutes to make their move, and they did. Dodging these brainless, aggressive beasts was child's play for our guy. As another orc lunged, Kai blinded it with a nasty pocket of sand right to the eyes. Blinded by the dirty trick, the beast reeled back. Seizing the opening, Kai attempted to hit them with a quick thundershock spell, aiming for a solid hit. But his magic was still too raw. The spell fizzled, leaving him defenseless against a massive club swinging straight for his head. He was in deep trouble. Suddenly, an intense wave of fire incinerated the orcs. Kai scolded Mir for overdoing it, but she snapped back, saying she only intervened because his spell failed. Kai couldn't believe magic was this tough, even after improving his mana control. Turns out, his natural element was lightning, a super rare affinity. It is insanely fast and strong, but wild and hard to control. Honestly, the fact he can cast it at all is statistically impossible. With an elemental divine protection, he would be unstoppable by now. For now, he had to keep practicing lightning during live combat. Casting magic requires an absolute, crystal-clear mental image. That is why magic is rarely used in close combat. It is too hard to focus. But Kai is different. He had to blend close-range daggers with magic. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see the wild, custom powers he unleashes next against the Demon King. Let's dive right into this crazy adventure where Kai is glad to have a sage's disciple guiding him. While Mar acts cute and shy, our main character suddenly senses some serious danger creeping close. Suddenly, a massive horde of orcs surrounds them from all sides. But for Kai, this is actually a dream come true. With the entire tribe showing up, he practically has endless targets to practice his skills on. Moments later, the chaos grows even bigger. It is not just orcs anymore, as all kinds of terrifying beasts and vicious demons rush out to join the massive brawl. Ugly monsters pour in from every direction, each one creepier than the last. Kai does not care about their numbers. He just wants to test his Thundershock spell. This time, it actually works, blasting lightning right into the horde. But aside from a quick flash and a loud crackle, the spell does no real damage. Sure, it burns some skin, but it is way too weak to deal a fatal blow. Well, at least he tested it in a real battle, even if it lacked any real power. When an orc tries to ambush him from the side, Kai effortlessly dodges. He leaps high into the treetops, showing off a level of speed and agility that completely stuns the monsters. While the beasts stare up in shock, they completely miss the deadly rain of sharp blades falling on them. Every dagger strikes a vital spot, dropping the orcs in one clean, bloody hit. These mana-infused daggers are his ultimate weapon, thrown with perfect precision and force. Now, if only his magic was that reliable. While he is lost in thought, a massive white ape lunges to ambush him from above. Big mistake. Within seconds, its blood is spraying everywhere after a swift, clean decapitation. Perched on a branch, Kai notices even more trouble heading his way as flying beasts swoop into the battle. To handle them, he drops back to the forest floor and calmly waits for his moment. Then, with razor-sharp focus and lethal strikes, he swats the flying monsters right out of the sky. Immediately after, Kai leaps back into the trees to create some breathing room. But one clever beast uses raw, brute strength to smash down his tree. The sheer volume of enemies is getting insane, making it hard to track them all. Yet, Kai remains completely composed. Now pay attention here, because a massive boss monster suddenly steps out of the crowd. Kai finally has the perfect target to test his twin daggers on, his sharp eyes already planning the entire attack. Close by, Mir is absolutely unleashing hell, throwing powerful destruction spells non-stop at the endless wave of beasts. With her insane magic, she can hold her own as long as her mana lasts. But Mir knows they need to escape this trap before they get exhausted. Luckily, Kai agrees, and they prepare to make their move. They retreat, but not before Kai leaves behind a bloody path of slaughtered beasts. The duo sprints away at full speed, well aware that these monsters are not just numerous, but incredibly high-level too. This is the harsh reality of stepping deep into demon territory, where powerful demons control hordes of low-level beasts to keep their land completely secure. They keep running until they hit a dead end at a steep cliff. From there, they witness the terrifying demonic kingdom spread under the night sky, crawling with bizarre, glowing creatures. A week after that intense scouting mission, Kingdom launches a major campaign, riding high on their past success to seize even more land from the demons. The soldiers are feeling confident after their recent victory, but a massive shock awaits them. Moving through the dense woods, their real threat isn't the demons, but an endless sea of monsters. These beasts are on a whole different level of power and numbers. While the hero candidates and elite knights can hold their own, the ordinary, weak soldiers are quickly turned into easy prey. Amelia tries her absolute best to protect the troops with clever formations, but the sheer numbers overwhelm them. Heinrich openly admits they are totally outmatched, even though the actual demons haven't even shown their faces yet. This suggests a powerful high-ranking demon is nearby, pulling the strings of this monster horde. Meju is spot on. A high-ranking demon named Elsa is behind this brutal massacre, completely dedicated to crushing the human army's military strength. You and I both know how brutal this is about to get, as she waits for the humans to tire out before launching the real demon invasion. And that moment is finally here. As the Demon King's elite army advances, Medu warns them to flee. Commander Amelia quickly realizes they have been utterly outsmarted and outmatched. Their only option left is a desperate retreat, but this escape costs them dearly as countless soldiers are cut down from behind. Even the demons are shocked by how incredibly weak the humans turn out to be. They expected a real challenge, but the human forces are already running for their lives. The demon troops credit this easy victory to their brilliant leader, Elsa. This crushing defeat means humanity will definitely think twice before ever trying to invade these dark lands again. Additionally, with the Beastmen Federation now completely under their control, the demons can focus all their power on wiping out the humans, making them absolutely certain of their victory. Meanwhile, Mir and Kai quietly watch the disaster unfold from a safe distance, having gathered some highly alarming intelligence about the fallen Beastmen. Kai, always obsessed with information, wants to dig even deeper into this mystery. Meanwhile, the battered army of the Holy Kingdom retreats to the nearest human settlement. As medics work tirelessly to treat the wounded, the generals gather to analyze their massive failure. Sure, they reclaimed the borderlands, but everything went south fast. The very moment they stepped into demon territory, they got utterly demolished. Now they are absolutely desperate for answers, struggling to figure out how to counter the endless tides of beasts blocking their path. Without a solution, launching another invasion is nothing but a fantasy. They are completely shocked that the demons are suddenly using such advanced strategy and coordination. In the past, the Demon King's forces fought like mindless beasts, but now, they are finally taking humanity seriously. Midyu suspects they are dealing with a brilliant tactical mind, directing these hordes from the shadows. Scout reports suggest they could bypass the enemy by traveling straight through the forest of monsters, but that is far easier said than done. The forest is massive, with only a few narrow paths, making it almost impossible to march a whole army through. Several knights suggest regrouping to plan their next move. Although they reclaim a lot of territory, their latest failed expedition cost them far too many lives. They only have themselves to blame for getting greedy and pushing too deep. Before, their high spirits kept them going, but now, that morale is entirely shattered. Hashimoto speaks up, reminding them that the Demon King remains their ultimate target, though if he were easy to beat, they wouldn't be suffering like this. His only solution: build a much larger army, but that would only slow them down and lead to more casualties. Flooding the battlefield with untrained troops just means more lives needlessly thrown away. Meru proposes a different strategy: forget mass numbers and focus on training specialized elite forces. Amelia agrees, knowing their survival depends on having only the absolute best fighters. Forming this special squad is their best shot at survival. It will take time, but it is their only realistic option. The knights support it, yet Midu cannot shake a strange feeling of unease. That is where we leave things today, as their goals clash with the kingdom, leaving Meju's crew wanting only to defeat the Demon King and go home. You and I are jumping right back in where the Holy Kingdom is too busy fixing its own mess to care, leaving the top knights terrified of making any waves. Noticing Midu looking down, Henrik urged him to speak. But honestly, defeating the Demon King was going to take way too long, with Amelia estimating they needed at least 2 solid years just to rebuild their forces. Sure, they all wanted the Demon Lord dead yesterday, but the reality was they lacked the muscle. For now, the knights were satisfied just reclaiming lost human territories. Midu saw their logic and knew the decision was already made. Yet, he could not stop worrying about his fellow classmates. He knew they were desperately homesick. As the meeting ended and they walked out, Captain Henrik noticed Midu's frustration, but reminded him that Amelia had to put the safety of the entire kingdom first. Without real influence, they could not change a thing. Because of that, Henrik warned Midu not to make any reckless moves. He was blunt, but he actually cared. The captain asked Midu straight up if he wanted to see his friends die, warning that impatience would only lead to a complete disaster. Besides, even though the hero candidates were powerful, they still needed major work. It was much smarter to train hard and prepare for one final, massive assault. Sure, everyone wanted to go home, but getting slaughtered by demons was way worse than staying behind to train for a couple of years. Midu knew that bitter truth better than anyone. If Henrik had not saved them against Stone Gaia, they would already be dead. Remember, the demon world is ruthless, breeding monsters far deadlier than the 4 heavenly kings themselves. The kingdom was banking on them to step up. Seeing the bigger picture at last, Midu accepted the plan and went to debrief the team. For Midu, his friends' lives came first, period. He locked in his resolve to get incredibly strong, swearing he would bring everyone home safely, no matter how long it took. But when he broke the news that their stay was extended, the room split. Everyone demanded to know how long, and a very uncomfortable Hashimoto confessed it would take at least 2 years. Now watch closely because this 2-year training plan is about to spark a massive fight within the group. Arashi absolutely despised this compromise, straight up kicking the table in pure rage. He was not having it. Arashi argued that waiting still meant risk, insisting they should just charge straight for the Demon Lord. He told the cowards to stay behind, but Midu shot back that keeping everyone alive was the ultimate goal here. Arashi snapped, stomping forward and calling Midu a coward. He lunged with a massive fist, shouting at Midu to open his eyes, but our main character immediately reacted. Midu summoned his holy sword, activating shield mode to block the strike. The impact was huge, triggering a massive blast that tore up the room. Through the thick smoke, Arashi sneered, asking if that was all Midu had. Midu fired back, arguing they had to fight as a team since a single heavenly king had nearly wiped them out. Training was their only real shot. But Arashi, fist still raised, mockingly asked if Midu thought he had won. Suddenly, magic chains locked them both down. Jin's voice rang out, telling them not to move, yelling at them to cool off before they completely demolished the entire castle. Midu stood down, apologizing, but Arashi just shattered the chains, calling them annoying. Jin sighed, complaining about the massive energy he wasted on that binding spell. Arashi insisted that real battles were the fastest way to grow, asking if Midu got it. That's when Murray stepped forward, taking Midu's side. Rina also spoke up, asking if it was not better to stay safe than to get wiped out. Hiki and Satoshi agreed, but then Carrie raised her hand, siding with Arashi. You can understand where she is coming from, right? The poor girl just wants to see her family again. Tearfully, Carrie confessed that her sick mother was waiting all alone back home. She couldn't bear the thought of her mother worrying in her hospital bed. Tao also backed Arashi, explaining he had a little sister to support after their parents left. Suwari looked down too, admitting her family must be sick with worry. She could not make them wait another 2 years. Midu felt their pain, but then Narumi loudly joked about having 3 girlfriends waiting for him. Maya rolled her eyes, while Atsushi and Kina proudly declared they would always stand by Arashi, believing his way was the only right choice. Akira hesitated, but ultimately trusted Arashi's fierce drive over Midu's caution. Arashi smirked, telling Midu the choice was clear, leaving our main character completely speechless. Striding forward, Arashi declared the debate was over. He walked out, inviting anyone who was brave enough to risk their lives to follow him. His faction immediately followed him out. Rina and Yumi desperately called out, trying to stop Carrie, but she closed her eyes, apologized, and chose to follow her heart with Arashi's team. Murray asked Narumi why he stayed behind, and he joked they still needed someone to pass messages. Jean felt torn, wanting to follow Arashi for his grandfather, but choosing to stay. Outside, Kai and Mir suddenly appeared right in front of them. Angry voices shouted at Kai, demanding to know what he wanted. The crowd grew agitated, but Akira quickly snapped at everyone to not cause a scene. Arashi glared at Kai, warning that they had no time for games and he would pay if he wasted their time. Kai just looked back calmly and spoke seriously. He admitted he wanted to borrow their strength, shocking Arashi. Just moments before, Kai and Meyer had been listening to the classroom argument from outside. When Meyer asked if they were okay, Kai admitted they both had points. Midu was right that they could not do it alone, but the kingdom was indeed being too passive. Charging ahead like Arashi wanted was incredibly dangerous. Meyer then turned and asked Kai what he would do in this impossible situation. He held up his hand, explaining there were 3 ways out. First, they could force the leaders of the Holy Kingdom to change their mindset. Though it was ruthless, Kai knew Midu would never agree to it. When Mira asked for the second choice, Kai suggested doing exactly what Arashi wanted. Launching guerrilla attacks on the divided demon kingdom could spark a massive civil war. It was smart, but Kai doubted Arashi had the patience for it. Meyer agreed, knowing Arashi's hot head, so she asked about the third option, and Kai smirked, saying they would use the intelligence they gathered. And that is where we leave it for now, trust me. You are going to want to see how this wild plan plays out. Later, sitting by the fire, Arashi frowned, asking about this cat tribe princess. Kai explained she was the chief's daughter, and she had been captured. All right, you and I are diving into a wild story. She is a massive VIP in the beast tribe. He extracted this intel after torturing several demons, so we can assume it is accurate. Hearing about torture sends chills down the girl's spines, making him look totally terrifying. Akira questions his true identity and that strange pistol, while Ino notices Mi and thinks she is absolutely adorable. Chomping on meat, Arashi demands to know what this princess nonsense is and why they even care about beastmen. Meanwhile, Atsushi asks if these beastmen are just half-animal creatures with ears and tails. Kinta eagerly shouts that he wants to see them because they must be super cute. Arashi snaps at them to shut up. Then Kai shifts focus, bringing up their plan regarding the Beastmen nation down south. Akira asks if he means the Grandana Beastmen Federation. Kai confirms this neutral state, but Arashi remains highly skeptical about asking those guys for help. He calls them demon-fearing cowards, but Mi interrupts. Their warriors are actually elite, with incredibly sharp senses and physical power that has driven back the Demon Lord army multiple times. Arashi wonders why they stay so passive. With a smile, Mi explains they lack the absolute power to wipe out the demon army, which is currently focused on humans. Kai delivers the main punchline. An alliance between the Holy Kingdom and the Beastmen makes victory possible. Akira finally gets it, realizing they need to secure the princess for leverage. Carrie asks if they just need to rescue her and use her as a bargaining chip. Kai agrees, revealing he already has their supply route and needs the group to act as bait. His expression turns dead serious. Arashi just needs to blow the place sky high while Kai stays hidden. Akira cuts in, asking why the Holy Kingdom never tried making an alliance before. Kai commends Akira's sharp question. Mi explains that while the Federation loathes demons, humans have always treated the beastmen like garbage and oppressed them. Because of that deep hatred, Carrie worries that negotiation will be next to impossible, But Kai notes that the cat tribe princess being captured changes everything. Now pay attention. This is where the trap is set. Mir smiles, knowing beastmen always honor their word. Once she is safe, negotiations begin. Silence fills the room as Kai awaits their answer. He asks if it is worth a shot since they have no better ideas. Arashi stands up, furious at this newcomer, who acts like an all-knowing know-it-all making demands. Xiao's voice breaks the tension, reminding Arashi that his choice impacts all their lives. Gritting his teeth in frustration, Arashi struggles before finally making his move. Arashi finally relents, agreeing to do it Kai's way. By morning, the combined group begins their journey south. Carrie anxiously asks if this path is safe, and Kai calmly reassures her. The Granada Federation lies to the south, while the demons are moving prisoners up north. Their intercept point is a dense forest road sitting right below the Demon Kingdom border. They will know their exact path. Akira points out that they are essentially sneaking into enemy territory, questioning the odds of getting caught. Kai quickly eases their worries. He has mapped out the routes perfectly. Even though the road is incredibly rough and crawling with wild monsters, Akira worries if their heavy carriage can even make the trip. Kai points out that if danger strikes, they have powerful skills to back them up. Tomoko excitedly agrees, boasting about her multi-dimensional space divine protection. She asks Kai if he still remembers her unique gift after all this time. He admits it is hard to forget such a rare ability, leaving Tomoko looking absolutely thrilled. Someone asks Shinju, which is Kai's real name, if he has been sneaking around the demon realm since that day. He explains he has actually been hunting for a way back home. Shiori immediately presses for answers about what he found. Kai reveals their only real ticket home is to slay the demon lord, which is why he gathered all this vital intel. Akira muses that saving a kidnapped beast princess is typical for Shinju. Arashi grows highly impatient, grumbling about their slow-walking pace and asking why they are not planning the raid yet. Kai agrees that they need to pick up the pace. He decides to stash their heavy carriage and luggage away, and by nightfall, the entire team transitions to traveling light on foot. I know what you're thinking. A quiet night walk? Think again. Snarling night wolves surround them instantly, and as a beast leaps at Shiori, Kai jumps in to shield her. The beast chomps down on Kai's arm only to shatter its own teeth. Smirking, Kai brags that normal teeth cannot pierce his steel before throwing a heavy punch. Kari warns they are fully surrounded. She orders the support units to huddle in the center while the front line holds. Casting a massive buff command, she empowers the fighters stepping forward. Fully buffed, the vanguard rips through the pack. Kari summons thick vines to bind a wolf in place, letting Ino rush in to deliver a devastating final strike. Just then, a rogue wolf leaps at Arashi. He calmly catches it by the throat, calling it pure trash before unleashing a violent explosion that burns the beast to a crisp. Tossing the charred corpse away, Arashi checks if everyone is okay. Kai is highly impressed by their teamwork, glad to see Arashi stepping up and showing some real leadership potential. He reminds them to let Hano heal any wounds. Suddenly, Kai senses danger approaching and shouts Mayu's name as a massive, sharp-fanged wolf lunges from the dark. It ambushes Arashi, catching him off guard. Mayu instantly summons her fire salamander spell, unleashing a massive wave of flames that completely roasts the beast. Atsushi and Kina are left utterly amazed. They joke about how she is way stronger than Naga. Arashi scoffingly calls her Shinju's girlfriend, sending Mayu into a blushing panic as she furiously denies the claim. Kai stays completely unfazed, telling Arashi to be grateful she saved his life. Arashi scowls, while Mayu stares intensely at Kai before huffing that she does not care about stupid gossip anyway. Atsushi and Kenta look incredibly jealous, wishing they could score a gorgeous girlfriend too. Once the dust settles, the girls approach Mayu, with Carrie waving warmly. They ask if she is a sprite and invite her to chat. Mayu desperately glances at Kai for help, but he remains completely cold, telling her to do whatever she wants. Mayu beams and happily agrees. Kai feels a wave of relief seeing her adapt so well. Later, perched on a cliffside, Arashi impatiently asks if their targets are really coming this way. He complains about waiting forever. Kai activates his appraisal eye, spotting tiny movements on the road below. He reassures him that the targets are in sight, analyzing the demon squad with his divine power. He counts 3 low-level demons, 15 mid-level grunts, and more targets inside the carriages. The only real threat is Ziganda, a 57-year-old high-ranking demon at level 36. This monster boasts grade A and B stats, wielding level 4 wind magic, level 2 demon fire magic, and level 2 enslavement magic. Arashi confirms if this high-ranking demon is the boss. Kai warns him not to take this enemy lightly, because even if he has no stone gear, a high-ranking demon is still deadly. Hearing this, Arashi scowls and claims the prey for himself. Arashi threatens to kill anyone who gets in his way. Kai glances back, revealing he always planned to let him fight. The strategy is simple. Arashi initiates with an explosive shot distraction. With the enemy formation broken, they will surround them in teams of 3. Continuing his briefing, Kai assigns Inyo and Zanagi to protect Hano, and they immediately nod in agreement. Finally, Oki secures the wounded while Mayu provides rear support. Arashi takes the boss. Trust me, you and I are about to watch one hell of a clash, so let's see how they do. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild hostage rescue plan. One guy sneaks in, saves the princess, while the rest create total chaos on the battlefield. If the battle goes sideways, feel free to retreat. Arashi looks incredibly confident though, claiming once he takes off their leader's head, the rest will scatter. Kai agrees to let him take charge. Suddenly, someone in the crowd snaps back, pointing out they're only here because Arashi needs help. Kinta and Atsushi loudly agree, sick of his arrogant, high and mighty attitude. Atsushi warns them not to order Arashi around, but an angry Arashi just yells at them to shut up. He knocks their heads together and tells everyone to get ready. They agree to follow the plan. Over in the demon camp, Zagana watches his exhausted troops. A soldier complains about the long march, but Zagana barks that they're almost there. He warns them to stay alert, though secretly, he's completely exhausted too. Riding a horse this whole time has made his back ache terribly, but he can't show any weakness to his men. Suddenly, he gets an idea. He decides to go inspect the prisoner girl to kill some time. He orders his soldiers to stay on guard while he sneaks off. The soldiers assume the old man just wants to rest. Inside the carriage, the beast princess Sina is tied up. Zaganda enters, looking completely drained, and sits by the door. He rubs his chin, smugly telling Sina she's almost at the city where she will be locked away forever, far beyond the reach of her precious Federation soldiers. Sina just complains about the bumpy ride. Caught off guard, he clears his throat and claims she will be released if the Federation cooperates. Sina simply shakes her head, knowing it is a completely useless hope. She warns him that the Federation won't bow down just because she is captured. He smirks, claiming she doesn't understand her place, but she defiantly calls him an absolute idiot. Zagana's eyes flash with rage. He violently rips open her shirt, shocking Sina, before sticking out his long, disgusting tongue, threatening to show her exactly where she stands in this world. Now, check this out. Right as he reaches for her, a massive explosion rips through the air. Things are about to get chaotic. Terrified, he pulls back the carriage curtain to find a demon reporting a human attack. Zagana panics as more powerful explosions rock their carriage from all sides. Mounting his horse, he screams for a counterattack. Atsushi and Kinta charge ahead relentlessly, while Kai and the others back them up as both sides clash. Looking at the chaotic battlefield, Zagana fears he might lose. Suddenly, Arashi rolls his shoulders and steps forward, casually asking if he is a high-ranking demon. Zagana summons his weapon, demanding to know who he is. Arashi just grins, saying he doesn't tell trash like him his name unless they put on a decent show. Furious, Zagana charges forward with a roar. Screaming that Arashi is nothing to him, the demon unleashes a massive blow. Arashi leaps up and punches, but Zagana blocks it easily with his spear, mocking his weak power. Arashi looks worried as a spear thrust forces him back to a safe distance. He realizes the demon is strong, but still not as terrifying as that other opponent. He calculates his remaining energy. His powerful blast drains too much divine power, leaving him with only 7 shots left before his physical abilities start to drop dramatically. He crouches, placing a hand on the ground to set a trap, planning to aim for the heart. Meanwhile, Zagenda senses their divine power and wonders if they are legendary hero candidates. Knowing they defeated powerful foes before, Zaganda twirls his spear, realizing he must be careful. He wonders how they found him and realizes they are trying to rescue the princess. Fortunately, he left strong guards with the princess. His eyes harden as he decides to end this quickly by taking down their leader with a single, decisive strike. Charging toward Arashi, he unleashes a lightning thrust. The strike is incredibly fast, but Arashi barely manages to dodge, shocked to find his clothes ripped by the sudden speed. Gritting his teeth, Arashi locks his eyes on the demon. Zaganda urges his horse forward, rushing headfirst exactly into the spot where Arashi wanted him to go. Wait for it, he lulled him right into a minefield. A massive explosion goes off, completely catching the demon off guard and spooking his horse. Zaganda curses, his vision blocked by the smoke. Arashi charges through, knowing his mind blast is just a setup, and appears behind the demon with his hand glowing red. He prepares to finish it with a blast, but Zaganda senses him. The demon's eyes flash as he unleashes a powerful wind thrust, catching Arashi completely off guard. Sent flying by the impact, Arashi crashes hard. His worried teammates call out, but he gets up clutching his stomach, telling them to stay focused on the fight. Zagana mocks him, claiming he cannot even protect himself anymore. Still, the demon's sharp instincts warn him that Arashi is a dangerous opponent who can detonate anything he touches. Confident he can win if he keeps his distance, Zagana steps down. Arashi, however, remains determined, seeing right through the demon's cautious strategy and grinning. Zagana fires another wind thrust to keep Arashi away, smirking because he thinks he is completely safe from any counterattacks at this perfect range. Arashi asks if he really thinks he has him figured out. As Zagana confidently smiles, Arashi raises his hand, claiming the demon is actually the one who left himself wide open. He fires a devastating cannon blast. Zagana's eyes widen in sheer terror as a massive energy beam erupts, leaving a giant smoking crater in its wake. Zagana lies dead, blood pooling around him. Arashi stands victorious, his coat billowing in the wind as his updated stats show his impressive divine explosion levels. His physical strength is now level 4. On the sidelines, Mayu is absolutely amazed that Arashi managed to defeat such a high-ranking demon all by himself. The demon soldiers panic over their leader's death. Seizing the moment, Akira rallies the team, boosting everyone's weapon damage with powerful support buffs. With their weapons glowing with extra damage, the group launches a final assault, easily sweeping through the remaining leaderless demons. Meanwhile, Kai approaches the carriage. Spotting the carriage, he steps forward and pulls back the curtain, finding the captive princess Sina with her clothes torn. She asks if he is here to save her. Kai tells her he is wondering that himself as he cuts her ropes with a dagger. Rubbing her wrists, she warily asks him what his true goal is. He coldly admits he wants what the demons wanted, planning to use her to get it. When she remarks on his honesty, Kai indifferently says there is no reason to lie. He asks if she would prefer a sweet lie about being her savior. Sina realizes they are not allies, meaning it is only fair if they fight each other. Instantly, her arm transforms into a beast-like claw as she lunges at Kai with cold, fierce eyes. Kai reacts in a split second, leaping back to evade her strike. She unleashes a furious torrent of claw swipes, but Kai easily blocks and dodges her fierce attacks, completely amazed by the sheer speed of this beast race. With a quick jolt, lightning strikes her down face first. Kai easily pins her. And that is where we leave it today. A basic spell was all it took. Alright, you and I are diving into a crazy showdown where Sina is absolutely losing her mind over how a basic human could be this powerful, as Kai gives her two brutal choices. Either give up and come quietly, or get forced into submission. Realizing she stands zero chance, Sina folds, figuring a human master beats a demon captor any day, while Arashi leads them onward. Meanwhile, Erasure is totally dominating, leaving dead monsters everywhere. The sole survivor is shaking and sweating in pure terror, realizing these humans are the real beasts here. Arashi signals Kyori Chinami, who instantly casts a glowing magic circle. Magic vines wrap around the beast, slamming it to the dirt as Arashi walks up and cold-bloodedly grabs it by the chin. Arashi growls, a warning to tell the demon lord they are going to blow his head completely off. Soon after, the crew gathers around to feast on stolen carriage food. Now here is where the vibe shifts. Kina happily feasts, while Kyori feels guilty about stealing, leaving poor Sina sitting awkwardly on her own. Kai asks why she is not eating. Even though Sina is drooling, she hesitates, wondering if it is actually okay to join in. Arashi tears off a huge chunk, loving his first real meal in ages. Kai sips his soup and gives her a cold look, explaining they still need her alive, so she better eat up. Hearing that, Sina drops her guard and digs in with absolute gratitude. One bite sends her straight to heaven. The nearby girl boasts about Hano's legendary cooking, leaving Hano totally flustered. That's when Miro Meyer chimes in, confirming Sina's name before asking a serious question. She wants to know how the demons managed to kidnap her. After a quiet moment, Sina explains that she ran smack into the enemy army while out hunting deep in the woods. Now, let's pause and think about this. She was deep in Federation lands where demons never go. Sina realizes they knew her location, prompting Kai to make a calculated guess. He suggests the demons were already planning an invasion, and capturing her was a key objective, leaving Kyori wondering about their true motives. The girl nearby guesses they want to conquer everything, starting with the Holy Kingdom. Sina agrees that world domination is their goal, but demands to know what these humans want with her. Kai is completely honest, telling her she is their bargaining chip to form an alliance with the Federation and crush the Demon Lord. Sina is shocked, asking if they are actually serious. Arashi speaks up, explaining they have no choice since they can never go back to their own world until the Demon Lord is dead. Hearing this, Sina realizes they are the summoned heroes. Kai cuts straight to the point, asking if she will cooperate to make their plan succeed. Sina nods in agreement, admitting she owes them a massive debt for saving her life. But Kai immediately kills the vibe, stating they did not actually intend to rescue her. Sina is surprised but lets it go, appreciating that they fed her and saved her anyway. To clean out the demons within her homeland, she needs outside help. Sina shares a dark gut feeling. She believes there is a high-level traitor feeding information directly to the enemy. And that is where we leave things today. Now I want to hear from you. What would you rate this crazy adventure on a scale of 1 to 10?